In the quiet comfort of my childhood home, where each creaking floorboard holds a memory, I stand frozen, grappling with the words that just shattered the stillness. Gregory, my husband of 8 years, his face an unreadable mask, drops the bombshell that upends everything. Lydia, it's decided. Alara is moving in and your mother needs to go to a nursing home. If you're not okay with that, we can always divorce, he states coldly. Behind him, Alara, his sister, smirks with a venomous glee that chills me to the bone. Their cruelty, stark and unapologetic, feels like a physical blow. I've always believed in the sanctity of family, in the bonds that were supposed to be unbreakable. But here I am, watching those bonds fray and snap before my very eyes. My mother, frail and vulnerable since Dad's passing, has become a mere inconvenience in their scheme. Divorce? The word tastes bitter as I spit it out, disbelief lacing my voice. You'd throw away our marriage all for her? Gregory shrugs, his indifference a sharp contrast to the tempest raging inside me. Lydia, it's simple. Alara needs a place to stay, and frankly, your mother is just taking up space. We need to think practically. Practically? The audacity of his words stings. This house, brimming with decades of love and laughter, reduced to mere square footage in his eyes. I glance at my mother, sitting in her favorite armchair, a look of utter defeat etched on her face. The image of her being sent away, discarded like an old piece of furniture, ignites a fire within me. Fine, I say, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. If divorce is what you want, Gregory, then you'll have it. But know this, I will not let you toss my mother aside like she's nothing. Gregory's eyes widen in surprise. Clearly, he hadn't expected me to call his bluff. Alara's smirk falters, her confidence shaken. In that moment, a plan begins to form in my mind. A plan to not only escape this toxic marriage, but to expose their callousness for what it truly is. They think they can manipulate me, break me down, and cast aside the people I love most. They're sorely mistaken. As I head to my room, the words of my father echo in my mind, a mantra of strength and resilience. Never let anyone dim your light, Lydia. Stand tall, even in the darkest of times. Tonight, as I lay in bed, I'm not just planning a divorce. I'm planning a reckoning. Gregory and Alara have awakened a side of me they'll wish they hadn't. I'll protect my mother and our home, no matter what it takes. This is more than just a marital dispute. It's a battle for dignity, for respect, and for the sanctity of the home I've loved my whole life. They may have declared war, but I'm more than ready to fight back. The morning light filters through the curtains, casting a warm glow over what feels like the aftermath of a storm. Today, the battle lines are drawn. I'm not just fighting for my mother's dignity. I'm fighting for my own. I start the day with a phone call to a lawyer, my voice steady but my hands trembling. The lawyer, a woman named Miss Hernandez, listens intently as I explain the situation. Mrs. Graham, we can start the divorce proceedings immediately, she assures me. And regarding your mother, we'll ensure she stays right where she belongs. Her words are a balm, and for the first time since Gregory's ultimatum, I feel a flicker of hope. As I hang up, I'm met with the sight of Gregory and Alara in the kitchen, their laughter grating against my nerves. Alara, perched on a stool, is flipping through a magazine, while Gregory prepares breakfast with an air of forced normalcy. Good morning, Lydia, Gregory says, his tone casual, as if our world hadn't just crumbled. I've contacted a lawyer, I reply, my voice devoid of emotion. We're getting a divorce, Gregory, and my mother is staying. Alara's eyes snap up from her magazine, her earlier smugness replaced by shock. You're serious? You'd really throw away your marriage over this? Over this? I echo, my anger simmering. This is about respect, Alara, something you know nothing about. Gregory sets down the spatula, his face hardening. You're being irrational, Lydia. You can't just... Irrational? I cut him off. No, Gregory. What's irrational is expecting me to abandon my mother for your sister's convenience. The tension in the room is palpable, a silent war raging with every word exchanged. My mother shuffles into the room, her presence a reminder of what's at stake. Lydia, is everything all right? She asks, her voice frail. Everything's going to be fine, Mom, I assure her, my resolve strengthening. Gregory and Alara exchange a look, a silent conversation that speaks volumes. They had underestimated me, and now they're scrambling. In the following days, the house becomes a battlefield of silent glares and unspoken words. Alara's presence, once just an annoyance, now feels like a constant provocation. Every smug smile, every dismissive gesture fuels my determination. The day I receive the divorce papers, my hands shake as I sign them. There's no joy in this victory, only a deep sense of loss for what could have been. But as I watch Gregory's face fall when I hand them to him, I feel a surge of empowerment. "This is what you wanted, isn't it?" I say, my voice steady. "Freedom from us, from responsibility. Well, you've got it." Gregory's response is a mumbled excuse, a feeble attempt to justify his actions. But I'm done listening. I'm done being the one who bends. As I retreat to my room, the reality of what I've set in motion hits me. There's no turning back now, but in this moment of solitude, I don't feel fear or regret. I feel a fierce sense of pride. I am Lydia Graham, and I will not be broken. Not by Gregory, not by Alara, and certainly not by the cruel hand fate has dealt me. This is just the beginning. The real battle is yet to come, and I am ready for it. The days following the initiation of the divorce proceedings feel like navigating a minefield in what used to be my sanctuary. Gregory's aloofness and Alara's scornful glances are constant reminders of the battle I'm embroiled in. But I refuse to be intimidated in my own home. A week later, I'm sitting across from Miss Hernandez in her office, the divorce papers spread out like a map of a battlefield. "The good news," she begins, her eyes scanning the documents, "is that you have a strong case for keeping the house, especially given your mother's condition." I nod, a mixture of relief and sorrow washing over me. This house, once a symbol of familial warmth, has become the core of my struggle. "But," Miss Hernandez continues, "there's something unusual. It seems Gregory has significant debts, ones he's kept hidden." "Debts?" The word hits me like a wave. Gregory's secretive phone calls and sudden expenses now make a chilling sense. The realization that he's not only betrayed my trust but also endangered our financial security is a bitter pill to swallow. "Can he claim the house because of these debts?" I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. "It's unlikely, given the circumstances. But we need to be prepared," she replies, her tone firm yet reassuring. Armed with this new information, I return home, my mind racing. The sight of Alara lounging in the living room, her feet disrespectfully propped up on the coffee table, ignites my anger. "Enjoying yourself?" I ask, unable to mask my contempt. Alara looks up, her eyes cold. "Oh, I'm just getting comfortable. After all, it's going to be my home soon." Her smugness is like a slap in the face, but I stand my ground. "Actually, Alara, you might want to start looking for another place. The house isn't going to be part of the divorce settlement." Her smirk fades, replaced by a flicker of panic. "What do you mean?" Gregory said. "What Gregory said and what's legal are two different things," I cut her off. "And while we're at it, let's discuss your brother's hidden debts." Alara's face strains of color. "Debts? What are you talking about?" "Oh, don't play dumb, Alara. It's unbecoming," I retort. "Gregory's financial troubles are going to complicate things for both of you." For the first time since she arrived, I see uncertainty in Alara's eyes. The revelation of Gregory's debts seems to have shaken her confidence, her facade of control slipping. Gregory walks in at that moment, his face a mask of confusion. "Lydia, what's this about debts?" "Ask your brother, Alara. He seems to have been keeping secrets from both of us," I say, turning to leave the room. As I walk away, I can't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. The tables are turning, and for once, Gregory and Alara are the ones caught off guard. But this is more than just a game of one-upmanship. It's about justice, about reclaiming my life and protecting my mother. Gregory and Alara may have thought they could control me, but they're about to learn just how wrong they were. The battle lines have been drawn, and I'm not just defending my ground, I'm advancing. The following days are a blur of cold exchanges and tense silences. Gregory's once familiar presence now feels like an oppressive cloud hanging over the house. Alara, though visibly shaken by the revelation of the debts, clings to her disdainful attitude. But their veneer of confidence is cracking, and I intend to shatter it. One evening, a week after my meeting with Miss Hernandez, I receive an unexpected phone call. It's from Posey, my mother-in-law. Her voice, usually laced with subtle barbs, now trembles with unease. "Lydia, we need to talk. Can you come over?" she asks, a note of desperation in her tone. The next day, I find myself at Gregory's parents' house, a place I had once considered a second home. The door opens, and Posey stands there, her usual poise replaced by a nervous fidgeting. "What is it, Posy? Why the sudden need to talk?" I ask, stepping inside. In the living room, the air is thick with tension. Posy wrings her hands, a clear sign of her anxiety. "Lydia, we heard about the divorce and the debts. Gregory never told us." "Seems he didn't tell anyone," I reply, my words sharp. Posy sighs, the weight of her son's actions bearing down on her. "Lydia, please, is there any way this can be resolved without all this mess?" I can't help but feel a bitter satisfaction at her discomfort. This was the woman who had subtly undermined me at every turn, who had always favored her son's whims over my well-being. "Posy, you're asking me to overlook your son's betrayal, his lies, and his attempt to throw my mother out of her own house. You think that can just be swept under the rug?" I demand, my voice rising. Posy flinches, the reality of my words hitting her hard. I didn't know about all that," she stammers. "That's the problem, Posy. You never knew, or perhaps never wanted to know. Gregory and Alara's actions are a reflection of what they've been taught, what they've been allowed to get away with," I say, my gaze unwavering. For a moment, Posy seems lost for words, the veneer of the matriarch crumbling before me. Then, with a heavy sigh, she speaks. I'm sorry, Lydia. I didn't realize." As I leave their house, Posy's apology echoing in my ears, I feel a complex mix of emotions. Anger, certainly, at the years of subtle jabs and favoritism, but also a sense of closure, of having spoken my truth to the woman who had, in many ways, enabled Gregory's behavior. This isn't just a victory in the battle of the divorce, it's a personal victory, a reclaiming of my voice and my worth. Gregory and Alara may have started this war, but I'm the one who's going to end it. And as I drive back to my house, to the life I'm fighting to protect, I know one thing for certain. I am not the same woman they thought they could control. I am stronger, fierier, and more determined than ever. The real battle is just beginning, and I am ready for it. The finalization of the divorce arrives like a storm, fierce and liberating. Gregory's signature on the papers is more than a legal formality. It's the end of a chapter filled with betrayal and the beginning of a new narrative written on my terms. In the aftermath, I find myself standing in the now quiet house, a sense of solemn victory washing over me. The property is mine, and my mother's place in her own home is secure. But the win is bittersweet. The house feels larger, emptier. Alara had moved out the day before the divorce was finalized, her departure marked by a sullen silence that was a stark contrast to her usual brashness. As she left, our eyes met, and for a fleeting second, I saw something that resembled regret. But it was gone as quickly as it appeared, replaced by the familiar scowl. In the weeks that follow, I focus on rebuilding. The house undergoes a transformation, each change a step towards reclaiming my space. Fresh paint, new curtains, and the removal of everything that reminds me of Gregory and Alara. My mother watches this process, her eyes reflecting a mix of sadness and relief. "Lydia, are you sure about all this?" she asks one evening, her voice tinged with concern. "I've never been more sure, Mom," I reply, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "This is our home, and it's time we made new memories here." But the past isn't ready to let go just yet. One evening, a knock on the door disrupts the newfound peace. Standing on the doorstep is Oswald, Gregory's father. His eyes are weary, his posture resigned. "Lydia, I need to talk to you," he says, his voice heavy. I lead him into the living room, offering a seat but not warmth. Oswald looks around, a sad smile playing on his lips. "This house, it's changed," he observes. "It needed to," I respond, my tone neutral. Oswald nods, understanding the unspoken words. "Lydia, I'm here to apologize. For Gregory, for Alara, and for how we treated you and your mother." His apology, sincere as it may be, doesn't erase the pain. But it's a start, a small step towards healing. Oswald talks about Gregory, about his failures and mistakes, painting a picture of a man lost in his own shortcomings. "I don't expect forgiveness, Lydia. I just wanted you to know that we see the pain we caused." Oswald says he stands to leave. His departure leaves me with a sense of closure, albeit a complicated one. The battle may be over, but the scars remain. Yet in their own way, they're a testament to my strength, to the journey I've undertaken. As I sit there, in the quiet aftermath of Oswald's visit, I realize that this battle has been about more than just a divorce or a house. It's been about finding my voice, about standing up for myself and my mother. And in doing so, I've discovered a resilience I never knew I had. The future is uncertain, but it's mine to shape. And whatever it holds, I know I'll face it with the same strength that brought me through this storm. Life after the divorce settles into a new rhythm, a dance of healing and rediscovery. The house, now infused with a sense of liberation, becomes a haven for my mother and me. But just when I start to believe that the storm has passed, the winds of the past swirl back into my life. It happens on a quiet Tuesday evening. My phone rings, and Gregory's name flashes on the screen, a ghost from a chapter I had closed. I answer, curiosity piqued and defenses up. "Lydia, I need to talk to you." Gregory's voice comes through, hesitant and strained. "Why, Gregory? What's left to say?" I ask, my tone guarded. "It's about everything. I've made mistakes, Lydia, big ones. I realize that now," he says, a note of desperation creeping into his voice. His words, meant to convey remorse, only stir a well of bitterness within me. "Mistakes? You call uprooting our lives and siding with Alara against your own wife and her mother just mistakes?" Gregory pauses, and when he speaks again, his voice is laced with something akin to regret. "I was wrong, Lydia, about Alara, about how I treated you and your mother. I see that now." The confession, though unexpected, doesn't soften the sharp edges of my memories. Realizations don't erase actions, Gregory. You chose your path. There's a shuffling sound, and I picture Gregory pacing, a habit of his when cornered. I know, but Lydia, I miss you. I miss us." The admission hangs in the air, a plea wrapped in nostalgia. But the man I loved, the man I thought I knew, vanished long ago, replaced by a stranger. "Miss us? Gregory, there is no us anymore. You made sure of that." My voice steady. Gregory's voice breaks slightly. "Can we meet? Just once to talk. Please, Lydia." The request, a blend of hope and despair, makes me pause. Part of me yearns for closure, for a final goodbye to the man I once shared my life with. But another part, the part hardened by betrayal, knows better. "No, Gregory, there's nothing left to discuss. We've said all there is to say," I say, the finality in my voice sealing the conversation. As I end the call, a sense of empowerment washes over me. The Gregory who stood on my doorstep all those months ago, demanding changes I couldn't accept, is no more. In his place stands a man broken by his choices, seeking solace in a past that no longer exists. That night, as I sit with my mother, sharing stories and laughter, I realize the full extent of my journey. From a woman caught in the tides of others' decisions to one who commands her own destiny. The road ahead is mine to travel, with its twists and turns, its shadows and lights. But one thing is clear. I am no longer the woman who once sought validation in the eyes of a man who could not see her worth. I am Lydia, whole and unbroken, master of my story. In the weeks that follow my last conversation with Gregory, life takes on a peaceful rhythm. My mother and I find joy in the small things, gardening, cooking, and long walks in the neighborhood. The house, once a battleground, is now a sanctuary of tranquility. But just as I begin to bask in the calm, an unexpected encounter jolts me back to reality. It's a sunny Saturday morning, and I'm at the local market when I spot Alara. She's at a fruit stand, her once haughty demeanor replaced by a look of wariness. Our eyes meet, and for a moment time stands still. I approach her, curiosity getting the better of me. "Alara, it's been a while." She turns, her face a mask of surprise and discomfort. "Lydia, yeah, it has." Her voice lacks its usual edge, her posture deflated. The sight of her so diminished stirs a complex mix of emotions within me. "I heard about the debts, the troubles you and Gregory are facing," I say, keeping my tone neutral. Alara lets out a sigh, the fight seemingly drained from her. "Yeah, things didn't quite go as planned. Gregory's struggling, and I guess I didn't help matters." Her admission, a rare glimpse of vulnerability, takes me aback. "I suppose we all have our lessons to learn," I reply. Alara nods, a flicker of something like remorse crossing her face. "I just wanted to say, Lydia, I'm sorry. For everything." The apology, unexpected and raw, leaves me momentarily speechless. This was the woman who had once seemed incapable of regret, now standing before me, seeking forgiveness. "Apology noted, Alara. But it doesn't change what happened," I say, my words firm but not unkind. "I know," she replies, her gaze dropping. I needed you to know." We part ways, the encounter leaving a trail of mixed feelings in its wake. As I walk back home, I reflect on the journey I've embarked on, the pain, the betrayal, and the triumphs. In the solitude of the evening, I sit with my mother on our porch, the sunset painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. We talk about the future, about the possibilities that lie ahead. "Mom, do you think I did the right thing?" I ask, seeking affirmation. She takes my hand, her eyes warm and understanding. "Lydia, you stood up for yourself and for me. You showed strength and grace in the face of adversity. Yes, you did the right thing." Her words settle in my heart, a comforting affirmation of my choices. As the night falls, I realize that this chapter of my life, though fraught with challenges, has been a crucible of transformation. I am no longer defined by the shadows of my past. I am a woman reborn, resilient, and free. My story, once entangled in the whims of others, is now mine to write. And as I look to the stars, I make a silent vow to live a life of authenticity, to cherish the love of my mother, and to embrace the endless possibilities that await. I am Lydia Graham, and my journey is just beginning.
"We're using your mother-in-law's savings for this trip," Carol announced, her tone oddly casual. "It'll eventually become Tyler's inheritance anyway, so it's fine, right?" She added, as if to justify their actions. My brother and his wife had rushed over immediately after my mother passed away, not to offer condolences, but to seize her bank book and withdraw her savings before I could even submit her death certificate to the government office. "You used Mom's money, huh?" I managed to ask, trying to suppress my anger. Carol's response was shockingly nonchalant. "Yeah, we spent about $10,000 on the trip." Oh. The audacity of my brother and his wife, conspiring to use my mother's money without permission, made me furious for a moment. But then I remembered something. These people didn't know. I couldn't help but laugh. "My condolences," I said, barely holding back my laughter. Carol looked puzzled by my sudden outburst. "What's wrong with you? Did the shock of us using the money make you go crazy?" Of course, I wasn't going crazy. I just couldn't help but laugh when I imagined the surprised faces of my brother and his wife when they found out the truth and faced their miserable fate. Their carefree days were probably numbered. I am Samantha, a very ordinary office worker raised by kind parents. My parents were always good-natured, constantly thinking about what they could do for others. Their kindness sometimes led them to being deceived or burdened with unfair responsibilities, but I admired them nonetheless. However, my brother Tyler had a completely different personality. He was always calculating what was beneficial for him and acted accordingly. To him, our parents, who would go out of their way to help others, were incomprehensible. As Tyler grew up, his rebellion against our parents intensified. In high school, he began to demand more money from them, saying, "If you can afford to do something for others, you can give me more allowance." Despite accepting Tyler's personality, our parents never changed their beliefs. Their unwavering character only frustrated him more. Tyler's negative feelings towards our parents only grew stronger in college. Taking advantage of the fact that our parents paid for his tuition, Tyler spent his college days partying and eventually failing a year, causing them trouble. Parents should naturally devote themselves to their children, right? Or can you only be kind to others but not your own family? Tyler would argue, justifying his selfish behavior. After graduating college, Tyler moved out and started living on his own. Although he left home without notice, he complained. Living a decent life on his first paycheck seemed impossible for Tyler. He kept returning to our parents' house for living expenses before heading back to his own place. Concerned about him, our parents kept giving him money whenever he asked. When I finally got a job, I decided to support our parents financially in place of Tyler. "Samantha, it's your hard-earned money, so you can use it however you like," my parents said. Despite their words, I continued to give them money, treating it as their grocery expenses. This routine continued for several years. Tyler, who only showed up to ask for money, unexpectedly invited me and our parents to a restaurant to talk. When we arrived, a beautiful woman was sitting next to Tyler. "Dad, Mom, Samantha, let me introduce you. This is my girlfriend, Carol," Tyler said, and Carol nodded politely. "I've decided to marry Carol. We'll be busy preparing for our wedding and our new life together, but I hope you'll support us." I initially thought Tyler meant support in terms of caring for Carol, but it became clear that his idea of support was entirely different. He asked our parents to cover the expenses for his wedding and their new home. Knowing our parents' inability to refuse help, Tyler skillfully persuaded them to foot the bill for everything. Even after the wedding and the purchase of their new home, he continued to rely on them for money. Carol, his wife, grew accustomed to this lifestyle and began living more extravagantly. However, this lavish lifestyle was short-lived. Our father's health deteriorated and he was hospitalized. Even with insurance, hospital stays are expensive. To ensure our retired parents wouldn't struggle financially, Tyler had to reconsider his reliance on them. I proposed to my brother that we both shoulder the burden of the hospital bills. You've been living at home and receiving assistance from mom and dad, and you've had a fair share of financial support from them too, right? This is the time for us to step up and help them, I reasoned. But my brother didn't see it that way. Why should I? He retorted. It's Dad's fault for not taking care of his health. He neglected himself while always helping others. That's his responsibility. Following that conversation, my brother stopped visiting our parents' house altogether. Neither he nor Carol, his wife, made a single visit to our father while he was in the hospital. It was my mother and I who desperately took care of him until he passed away. Even when we informed them of our father's death, they didn't offer any assistance with the funeral arrangements. They briefly showed up at the funeral but failed to greet our relatives properly before leaving. Our relatives looked at them with disdain, but they seemed indifferent. My mother, who had bravely taken on the role of chief mourner during the funeral, began to lose her energy after the funeral, clearly affected by the loss of my father. Tyler, Mom has been feeling down lately. She wants to see you. Can you visit her at home sometimes? I asked my brother. After a brief pause, he responded, By the way, what happened to Dad's inheritance? It all went to Mom. It seems they had decided that's what they would do when Dad was still alive. I informed him. Realizing the gravity of the situation, I felt a foreboding sense of dread and immediately cautioned my brother. Mom has control of the money now, right? He inquired. Yes, but listen carefully, I urged, sensing his intentions. Mom is emotionally vulnerable right now. Don't even think about taking advantage of her financially, okay? I need you to come and support her. That's what's important. What's the point of going if I can't get any money out of it? It's not worth my time, he retorted dismissively. Despite my insistence that we wouldn't be providing him with any financial assistance, my brother never set foot in our parents' house again. Then, just 6 months after our father's passing, our mother also succumbed. Despite her weakened state, my brother showed no concern. Upon learning of her death, he hurried back to our parents' house. I hoped he would fulfill his duties as the eldest son during the funeral. But to my dismay, he and his wife vanished as soon as it began. Frantically, I tried calling his cell phone, but it went straight to voicemail. In the end, I assumed the role of chief mourner in his absence, managing to navigate through the funeral proceedings alone. Several days later, I finally managed to get in touch with my brother. Samantha, this is Carol, came the voice on the other end. Where's Tyler? I asked anxiously. He's busy with boarding procedures and can't come to the phone. Carol replied casually. Boarding procedures? Where are you? We're at JFK Airport. We're leaving the United States in a few hours. Lol. My heart sank as I processed the revelation. You're leaving the United States and going abroad. Yes, we're going on an international trip, Carol confirmed, devoid of any hint of remorse or regret. I was taken aback by my brother and his wife's swift decision to embark on an overseas trip immediately after our mother's passing. However, what Carol uttered next left me utterly astounded. We're really grateful to our mother-in-law, Thanks to her, we're able to enjoy this luxurious trip abroad, Carol remarked, her tone laced with casualness. Puzzled, I questioned, What do you mean by that? We used our mother-in-law's savings for this trip. After all, it was going to be Tyler's inheritance anyway, so why not use Mom's savings? Carol explained nonchalantly. How did you manage to get that money? I inquired, my anger simmering beneath the surface. We borrowed her bank book and seal when we visited her house. We knew we wouldn't be able to withdraw money once the death certificate was submitted, so we hurried, Carol confessed, revealing the true reason behind their rush to our mom's house after her demise. So you used Mom's money, I stated, trying to contain my frustration. Carol's response was surprisingly blaze. Yes, we've already spent $10,000 on trip expenses. It's a good thing Tyler's plan worked out. Initially, I was furious at the audacity of my brother and his wife for dipping into our mom's savings without permission. But then, a realization struck me. They didn't know. I couldn't help but chuckle inwardly. Serves you right, I thought to myself. Perplexed by my sudden outburst of laughter, Carol questioned, "What's wrong with you? Did the shock of us using the money make you lose your mind? Tyler is the eldest son, so it's natural for him to inherit more, right?" I responded between laughs. "Sure, that's fine. I'll give up my inheritance so Tyler can inherit everything. That was your plan all along, wasn't it?" Upon hearing this, Carol's demeanor shifted to one of delight. "Oh my, you're quite understanding, huh? By the way, please make sure to arrange for all of Mama's mail to be sent to your house from now on." "Don't worry, it's a simple task. I'll let Tyler know," she concluded cheerfully before hanging up the phone. I didn't hear from my brother again until they returned from their trip. "Samantha, Carol told me you're giving up your inheritance," my brother stated as soon as he called. "Yes, but more importantly, did you handle the mail forwarding for Mom's mail?" I asked. "Yeah, I took care of it as soon as we got back," he replied. "But to know you're not going to change your mind later, are you? You won't say you should have inherited after all?" I inquired. "Of course not. I still believe my decision was the right one," he'd affirmed confidently. "Well, it's only right that I, the eldest son, inherit everything," he added with a chuckle before ending the call. However, a few weeks later, he called again, sounding panicked. "There's a collection notice addressed to Mom in her mail." "What's this about?" he asked anxiously. "Oh, is it from the bank?" I speculated. Our parents always wanted to help people in need and would accept any requests, including financial ones. As we delved into the matter, it became apparent that our parents had accumulated substantial debt. The debt outweighed their savings, making inheritance a risky proposition that could potentially leave them in a dire financial situation. "Did you know about this?" my brother accused, his voice rising. "You knew Mom had debt, right? Why didn't you say anything?" "There was no point. What you're saying is meaningless," I retorted. "If I had known, I would have given up the inheritance too." "That's impossible," he exclaimed. "Why the hell is it impossible, Tyler? You took money from Mom's bank account to go on vacation, didn't you?" I countered. "So what? What does that have to do with giving up the inheritance?" He shot back. "It's a big deal. What you did is considered a tacit acceptance of the inheritance," I explained. "It's a legal concept. Let me break it down for you so you can understand." I explained to my brother that by withdrawing money from our deceased family member's account for his own use before the inheritance process, it was legally seen as a tacit acceptance of the inheritance. "I have never heard of such a thing," he rebutted. "Of course not," I replied. "Not many people would even consider using a deceased family member's savings for their own selfish desires, so it doesn't come up in conversation. You're just making stuff up because you want the inheritance for yourself. I have a lawyer friend, you know. They'll find out if you're lying," my brother threatened before abruptly ending the call. Later he called back, but this time, his bravado was replaced by a sense of resignation. "Samantha, you were right. I can't give up the inheritance now," he admitted. It seemed his lawyer friend had given him the same answer I did. Finally understanding the gravity of the situation, my brother realized that he had inherited not just assets, but also the debt our parents had accrued. Despite his protests, it became clear that he was partially responsible for the financial mess, having frequently begged our parents for money without knowing the extent of their debt. Desperate to find a way out of his predicament, my brother attempted to persuade me. "Hey, Samantha, our parents are gone, and it's just us siblings now, right? Isn't this the time to join forces?" he proposed. "What do you mean by join forces?" I questioned, wary of his intentions. "I think we should work together to pay back our parents' debt. Now's the time to show our filial piety," my brother proposed, his tone almost pleading. I sighed heavily at his selfish suggestion, which felt like too little, too late. "What are you talking about? When Dad was in the hospital, I suggested we should help our parents together, but you pushed me away," I reminded him. "I was busy at the time," he defended himself. "Regardless of how busy you were, you didn't visit Dad in the hospital even once, and you didn't support our grieving mother afterward. I don't want to hear the words filial piety from someone like you ever again," I retorted, feeling a surge of frustration. With nothing left to say, I left my brother hanging. "Have you ever done anything for someone else, Tyler?" I know you took advantage of our kind parents, but there's no one who will help someone who can't do anything for others, even if they're family. But if you don't help me, Carol and I can't pay back the debt by ourselves. Are you going to abandon your brother? We're family, he pleaded desperately. When Dad was in the hospital, you abandoned him, saying it was his own fault for not managing his health. This time, using Mom's savings is your own fault, I countered, feeling the weight of disappointment settling between us. I regret that, okay? I've changed, my brother's voice pleaded through the phone. Have you? I still think you're just desperate to reduce your own debt. And even if you've changed, the person you should apologize to is no longer in this world. It's too late. I interjected firmly, cutting him off before hanging up the phone. I had no intention of helping him. After all the trouble he had caused our parents throughout the years, burdened with debt and unable to live the carefree life they once had, Tyler and Carol's relationship quickly turned sour. However, living separately would only incur more expenses. Unable to afford even the moving expenses, they had no choice but to continue their married life together, bickering all the while. At first, they tried to save money and pay off the debt little by little from their salaries, but it didn't last long. Neither Tyler nor Carol could forget their luxurious lifestyle, and they would secretly spend money behind each other's backs, causing their debt to never decrease. As a result, they blamed each other for their inability to reduce the debt further, damaging their relationship. Their marriage continued to crumble in this vicious cycle. On the other hand, I finally found the time to properly mourn our parents. I remembered how during our parents' funeral, countless attendees tearfully expressed their gratitude for the help our parents had provided them when they were in need. Realizing how many people our parents had helped made me feel even more proud of them. It was ironic that my brother, who had never shown any gratitude and had always caused trouble for our parents, ended up shouldering the debt that resulted from their acts of kindness. Even though they were drowning in debt, I still admired our parents for never giving up on helping others. With these thoughts in mind, I continued to pay my respects to our parents at the family altar every day. My name is Angelique, and I've just graduated from college. I'm a newbie at my job, undergoing the standard new employee training, akin to orientation, on my day off. My best friend, whom I've known since kindergarten and all through high school, asked me about it with curiosity. Though we attended the same college, we pursued different majors. She continued on to grad school, so she's keen on my transition into working adult life. You won't believe it, I said, recounting my experience. We start with a morning run every day as part of building our stamina. Really? Everyone, she exclaimed, evidently surprised by the rigor. It seems so. It's like a first taste of the toughness of working life. Unless there's a specific reason, everyone up to their second year participates. Those with 3 years or more are exempt. But still, about half of the entire company joins in. The other half opts for activities like crosswords or brain training exercises. Whoa, interesting. I totally skipped the exercise part though, she chuckled, amused. Our company motto is also unique, I continued. It's something like always be healthy, work hard, play hard, and live a long, active life. So, for the first 30 minutes after starting work, we have time for physical and mental exercises. That is really unique, she remarked. I can interact with people from all ages and departments. It feels like an extension of a club or group in school. It's fun. I really do love the company I've joined. But don't you seem kind of tired? You're really observant, I replied, somewhat taken aback by her sharp observation. Yes, overall the atmosphere at the company is okay. But there is one, if not the only colossal obstacle, a supremely arrogant individual who stands in my way. You want to quit? She asked, concerned. Oh, I see. Just as I thought, you lack determination. I smiled, shaking my head. The woman who is my manager is complaining bitterly on a call with a part-timer who has been absent for a few days. Her loud voice, meant to be heard, seems to be filled with malice, pushing the other person into a corner. The manager, whispered as the queen of damaging sighs, has the destructive power to completely demoralize the person on the receiving end of her tirade, I explained. She's like, I'm taking a break, and then all of a sudden doesn't show up for days, neglecting her duties. And now she says she's quitting. How carefree. Just because she's part-time doesn't mean I'll let her get away with this. I'll push her to the very end. This goes beyond sarcasm. It's downright terrifying, I continued. The last day the part-timer came in, I noticed her body stiffened, tears welling up in her eyes. What's wrong? Are you okay? I asked. She had been scolded by the manager again. She was trembling as she spoke. It must have taken a lot of courage for her to make this phone call. Since the manager has no choice but to accept her resignation, it would be better to just let her go without any more sarcastic remarks. It's been about a month since I joined the company. Considering that the first week was just going around and learning from all the departments in the company, I've encountered similar situations twice in the short span of 3 weeks, I sighed. It's so inconvenient. She hardly does her work and just drags everyone down. All I'm doing is pointing that out. The manager, secretly referred to as the Empress in the company, always has deep wrinkles between her eyebrows. It takes effort to replace her. It's only natural that she should have the consideration to find a replacement and finish the handover before she quits, right? The tension spreads among the employees present as the manager seeks agreement, I explained. Everyone pretended to be focused on their work, nodding without making eye contact with the manager. However, she caught on. You seem to have a problem, she said, as I recalled the face of the part-timer. I found myself ensnared in the scrutinizing gaze of the Empress. I'll ask you once you receive your salary. You should take responsibility for your work, right? Yes, I replied, feeling the weight of her deliberate question. There seemed to be no other option but to agree, and the manager knew it, directing the inquiry squarely at me. Do you think it's okay to act selfishly in the workplace? She continued. No, but selfishness is the enemy of work, right? I started to argue back, but her loud voice cut me off. In the end, I wasn't allowed to say anything. I regretted my inability to intervene for the crying part-timer and that I simply let the manager have her way. That's bound to stress you out. I'm sorry, I just keep complaining. I was supposed to be bragging about the company, but before I knew it, it was all just one-sided complaints. I lamented to my friend. It's okay, you can't keep things bottled up, and it's not your fault. If you resist too much, you'll be the next target. A manager who mixes up power and authority is the worst. Be careful not to get on her bad side, okay? She warned, offering solace. Thanks, I replied, feeling grateful for her understanding. Then I broached the main topic about the trip. I think I can cover the cost with my part-time job savings from college and my first paycheck. I'm thinking of taking my grandparents to the resort you told me about before. Do you think they'll be pleased? This was the real issue I wanted to discuss. She was well informed about traveling, having done so extensively with her family. Of course. The end is one that even my picky grandmother was completely satisfied with. You can't go wrong, she assured me with a smile. I'm glad. I really want to make it a good memory since we're doing it, I expressed, feeling relieved. I had been planning a trip with my grandparents using the money I had diligently saved up. They were the ones who raised me in place of my parents who passed away when I was young. I wanted to give something back to the two of them who always put me first and supported me, though I had been saving money from part-time jobs since my college days. Seeing my friend smile, my cheeks also relaxed. However, it was Friday afternoon, the day before the trip. I was summoned by the manager and approached her desk. Classify these by category and analyze them. They're documents to be used at the beginning of next week, she instructed, her lips adorned with unusually bright lipstick and a smug smile etched on her face. I blinked in surprise as I saw the pile of thick documents before me. You want me to analyze this by the end of the break? I asked, incredulous. There were several binders, each one incredibly heavy, and they were all disorganized. Just sorting and classifying them alone would likely consume the entire day, let alone analyzing them on top of that. To my bewilderment, the manager responded with a victorious air. I'm glad you understand my orders. You've been ignoring instructions recently, you see. Unable to hold back the unreasonable accusations, I decided to stand my ground. I hate to point out, but it's Friday and there are barely 2 hours left until the end of the day. It's simply impossible to finish these documents by the beginning of next week. I attempted to remain calm, but ever since our part-time worker left, the manager seemed to have singled me out for intensified harassment. She excluded me from office memos, issued incorrect instructions, and then blamed me for misunderstanding. On top of that, she dumped an unmanageable amount of work on me, which clashed with my long-awaited vacation plans. It seemed like my objections didn't bother the manager at all. You're going to use it at the beginning of the week, right? It's fine if you come in over the weekend to finish it. Oh, and just to let you know, these documents are confidential, so don't take them home. Please, wait a second. I tried to argue, but the manager interrupted. I have a meeting soon, and I'm leaving directly from here today, before leaving the pile of documents on the desk and walking out. The next day, my planned trip with my grandparents lay under the expansive sky. As they noticed my stifled yawns, they grew concerned. Are you okay? Staying up all night and then going on a trip? Maybe we should have canceled. I'm fine, don't worry. I was really looking forward to this trip today, I reassured them. Yeah, I could sense their worry knowing I had worked all night and rushed home just in time for our departure. I couldn't let my fatigue dampen our special trip. No, this won't do. It's a special trip, so I have to make it enjoyable. I mustered up some cheer and directed a smile toward my grandparents. Look at this view, it's amazing. The sea is so beautiful. Don't worry about me. I worked hard so that I could enjoy delicious food, soak in the hot spring, and sleep soundly on a fluffy bed. My attempt at lightheartedness seemed to relax them, and they began to enjoy the scenery with relieved expressions. But amidst the enjoyment, a nightmare awaited me. Did you finish the job I asked for? You didn't quit, did you? A familiar voice startled me as I strolled alone in the inn after checking in. Why here of all places? I muttered to myself, but the manager, seemingly reading my thoughts, snorted and left. I ruined your weekend to teach you a lesson. I thought it was unlikely, but as I thought, you ignored my instructions, didn't you? The manager's words felt like a curse, and I was overcome with dizziness. The thought of being given work to ruin my vacation filled me with anger. But how did you know about my plans? I asked, astonished. You were chattering away during break time. Where are you going? When are you going? Oh, I'm so jealous. You were so pleased being praised by everybody. It was hilarious, she replied casually, revealing her eavesdropping habits. Realizing that my innocuous chats with colleagues were being carefully listened to, I felt a chill. Besides, I'm surprised. This inn is too good for you, she continued, her tone dripping with disdain. Excuse me? I responded, confused. You don't get it. It's an eyesore to see commoners wandering around. Look, there's a rundown inn next door that's more your style, she sneered. I don't understand what you mean. I know you find me an eyesore, but the rest is just insults and harassment, right? I retorted, feeling my anger rise. Just as my frustration reached its peak, a voice of support came from behind me. Is that what this is about? My grandparents had arrived, standing by my side. The people whom I thought were peacefully drinking tea in the room were suddenly standing behind me. Judging from their expressions, they must have overheard almost all of my conversation with the manager. This is, I began hurriedly, but my grandfather cut me off and addressed the manager. Nice to meet you. I'm Angelique's grandfather and have been her guardian for many years. Perhaps it's quicker to tell you that I'm the honorary chairman of the trading company that was discussing a deal with your company the other day. At those words, the manager's face turned pale. The honorary chairman of the industry, but your name is different from this employee's. Yes, she goes by her maternal family name. Otherwise, she would be viewed differently as a member of a famous company's founding family, right? My grandfather explained calmly. I don't want my precious granddaughter to have a tough time at the company where she works. I'm terribly sorry, I had no idea, the manager stammered, her face growing even paler. Do you think ignorance excuses rudeness? My grandfather queried. In contrast to my grandfather's calm demeanor, the manager was sweating profusely and frozen in place. I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to relay a message to your company CEO. I'm not interested in doing business with a company that has a manager like you. Well, wait a minute, please, the manager exclaimed, but my grandfather ignored her pleas. My granddaughter joined a company with a great motto: stay healthy, work hard, play hard, and live a long life. I thought the existence of quirky managers was necessary for the growth of the company, but your personality and behavior are harmful, he concluded. If you disagree with what I say, you can ignore it or spread bad rumors about me. My granddaughter has been recording all of this with her camera. Let's see whose side the world is on. With that, he left the scene. As my grandfather had said, I had been recording from the beginning of the trip with a camera hanging around my neck, capturing memories with my grandparents. I had forgotten, but the camera was still rolling at that moment. I began, uncertain of how to react. The manager, trembling, tried to cling to my grandfather but was bluntly told, "It's too late now," and collapsed on the spot. "Wait a minute, can't you do something to help?" she pleaded, turning to me for assistance after being coldly brushed off by my grandfather. "I refuse." "You always say there's nothing a newbie like me can do," I retorted, returning the sarcasm she had given me just the other day. Despite my anger, I managed to keep it in check and even flashed a smile. "Yeah, I could probably be an actress too," I thought to myself. Then at the start of the week at work, there was an issue with the manager. The executive who led the running club stood tall in our department since the morning. Our company credo is to practice living healthily, working well, playing well, and living a long life. We welcome hard work, but that doesn't mean forcing people to work, especially not if it compromises their physical and mental health. Executives who dump unreasonable amounts of work on their subordinates are merely showing their lack of managerial skills. The managing director's voice echoed throughout the floor. "Excuse me?" The manager, seemingly taken aback by being attacked first thing in the morning, was about to ask something calmly while clenching her fist. But the executive continued, "Here, we have the time cards from last Friday to today. There were 5 employees who came to work on Friday and stayed until Saturday morning. 3 people worked on their days off on Saturday and Sunday, and this morning, Angelique came in early." The manager seemed more and more perplexed as she was presented with these records. "Oh, what does that mean?" she asked, her tone uncertain. I addressed the confused manager, prompted by the managing director. "If I may, you instructed me to finish organizing and analyzing a massive amount of data by the start of the week and told me to work during holidays if necessary. But it was impossible for me alone." Just then, the executive happened to pass by, so I consulted with the people around me. With cooperation across departments, we managed to complete the task as you instructed, spending the amount of time and manpower I just explained. Since the running club members who helped this time were present at the executives' meeting, I took the opportunity to thank them again. I only worked from Friday night to Saturday morning and early this morning after returning from the trip, so I was hardly any help. "But thank you so much for helping me," I added, bowing. In response, I received kind words such as, "We help each other out in times of trouble." And that's what running buddies are for. The manager finally seemed to grasp the situation, and this time she came at me, crossing departments. "You say I didn't authorize such a thing," she accused, seeming intent on blaming me for overstepping her authority. "I approved it," declared the managing director. At these words, the manager was frozen in shock. The newbie in the running group, who always had a smile on her face, was in deep trouble, I heard someone murmur. Upon hearing the situation, I found out they've been burdened with an absurd workload. It would have been fine to leave it be, but since it was work necessary for the company, I took charge and gained everyone's cooperation. I apologized for the post-approval, but first, the managing director's stare bore into the manager. I can't forgive the base motives behind burdening a hard-working employee who's trying to be filial to their grandparents with an impossible task just for harassment, were the most forceful words I'd ever heard the managing director say. His face softened a bit. The other day, my grandchild who visited me cooked up some fried eggs. Heaven recently learned how to make them. They were overly charred and even had eggshells in them, a real mess. But it was the first time my grandchild had cooked something with such dedication. To me, it was the best feast ever, he shared, overlapping his feelings for his grandchild with the sentiments a supervisor should have for their subordinates. Despite the kitchen being a complete mess from my grandchild's cooking, my wife was in high spirits all day. That's just how it is. When I told them it was delicious, the proud smile on the young face was the most endearing thing. The managing director continued, his unexpected story bringing tears to the employees' eyes as they shared memories of their own grandparents. "I still can't forget the taste of the rice porridge my grandma made me when I was sick, and the pat on the back my grandpa gave me, saying, 'Pain, pain, go away,' seemed to heal me faster." The employee reminisced, almost bursting out laughing at the managing director's doting grandparents' stories. Feeling a lump in my throat, I wondered if a present for their grandparents could elicit such an emotional response. The people who helped me that day told me as I bowed, "If you think you're causing trouble, the best way to show us respect is to go and have as much fun as possible," and they set me off on my trip. I love this company, all of you, and of course my job. That's why it's so frustrating to see part-time workers and employees like me being targeted and quitting due to unreasonable demands, I voiced, mustering all the courage I could. A warm round of applause erupted from those around me. However, the manager seemed irritated by this and confronted me. Do you think it's okay to talk like that? She challenged. The managing director quickly reprimanded her. Silence. If you want to stay with this company, you'll lose all your titles and privileges and be demoted to the same status as a new employee. Naturally, you'll be starting from today. So the employee who joined a little before you, Angelique, will be your senior. You should be careful with your words. Upon hearing that the president had also approved, the manager shook her head intensely and yelled, "No, I won't accept this." But there was no help for her. Instead, everyone's cold glares focused on her. If you don't like it, you're welcome to submit a resignation letter anytime, the managing director concluded. And so the downfall of the manager known as the Empress began. Afterwards, she was literally demoted to a rank-and-file employee. She stuck around the company for a bit, but maybe she couldn't handle the tough treatment she was getting because one day, she just stopped coming in. A few days later, her resignation letter came in the mail. Around that time, our company was being covered on TV. The show titled Morning Exercise. Bonds Beyond Titles was aired, and they even talked about me and my grandparents. I heard later that the viewers loved our company rule. Don't tolerate unfairness. The unjust female manager remained anonymous, but the clients clearly knew who she was. Rumor is that she doesn't stand a chance of finding a job in the same industry again. Meanwhile, our company was able to do business with my grandfather's company without any problem. Working with relatives can be a bit embarrassing, but it also keeps me on my toes. Plus, I've become even more popular within the company due to my legendary showdown with a female manager. Whoa, you're so motivated. I want to work with you once I finish graduate school. My best friend recently told me. I'm hoping that'll happen too, I replied. I've started saving again because I want to travel with my grandparents without any worries this time. It'll take time since all I can do is save bit by bit, but just sit tight, Grandma and Grandpa. I'm going to continue to cherish my precious time from here on out.
Emily, is Grandpa behaving himself? Well, sort of. He injured his leg. Old people can be such a nuisance. I wish they'd think about those of us who have to take care of them. Patricia, that's not a nice way to say it. It's fine. He's already declining quite a bit. I can't handle the fuss of old people, but you're used to it, so you'll be fine. The other day, my husband's grandfather, Michael, fell in a garden and injured his leg. It's not a serious injury, but he's already 82 years old. Because of his age, we're having him rest in bed just to be safe so it doesn't get worse. My mother-in-law won't even go near him, let alone take care of him. I'm Emily, 30 years old. I married 3 years ago and live with my husband Daniel's family. My husband was my boss at the company where I worked, a company founded by his grandfather. When I joined 8 years ago, my father-in-law was already the president and my grandfather-in-law was the chairman. But back then, the grandfather was still handling all the important tasks and responsibilities of the company. 2 years ago, when Grandpa turned 80, he remained chairman but handed over most of the public duties to my father-in-law. Michael, you've worked hard all this time. Now, leave the company matters to Christopher and take it easy, my mother-in-law said with a smile, but her words sounded sarcastic to me. Grandfather-in-law is a bit stubborn but a fair and kind person with a good reputation. In contrast, my father-in-law seems somewhat immature, never expressing his opinions clearly and utterly unreliable compared to Grandpa. And he always does whatever my mother-in-law says. My grandmother-in-law has already passed away, and I never met her. My husband and I started dating when we worked together on the same product planning team 3 years after I joined the company. My husband, energetically leading the team, seemed reliable to me, though a bit self-righteous. Maybe I felt that way because I lost my father early and grew up with just my mother. My mother also passed away from illness 2 years ago, and now I have no family other than my in-laws. Shortly after I got married, my mother felt ill and needed care, so I quit my job to take care of her. The fact that my husband's family didn't object was probably due to a single comment from Grandpa. It's only natural to take care of the mother who raised you alone. Don't worry and take good care of her. Thanks to that, I was able to be by my mother's side every day for a year without financial worries until she passed away. My mother-in-law seemed a bit dissatisfied, but I was truly grateful. However, since Grandpa handed over the company to my father-in-law, everyone's attitudes towards him have gradually changed. They no longer listen to his opinions as much, and I can't shake the feeling that they're treating him carelessly. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, but watching my mother-in-law and husband's behavior, I can't help but feel that way. My father-in-law's attitude is non-committal, but it feels like he's ignoring Grandpa as if he's no longer needed since he's practically retired. Watching my in-laws' behavior, I feel somewhat angry. Hey, don't you think your attitude, Patricia, and yours too, is a bit cold towards Grandpa? So what's the big deal? Grandpa tries to talk to you and you barely respond. You don't even try to help them. Like I have time to deal with old people. You can take care of Grandpa. You're the one with the free time. You don't have to talk like that. Quiet, I'm tired from work. Don't nag me about unnecessary things. This is how it goes no matter. They won't listen to me. My grandfather-in-law doesn't say anything to his family about this. Now I'm the only one who talks to my grandfather-in-law at home. Grandpa, the weather is nice today. Shall we go for a little walk outside? Your leg seems to be healing well, and I think it will be good rehabilitation. Thank you. Let's go out for a bit then. The two of us went to the park where there were several families with children playing around. My grandfather-in-law looked at the scene with joy. Christopher and Daniel enjoyed times like that too. Grandpa, I was busy with work and couldn't take care of the children much. Maybe that's why I couldn't raise Christopher and Daniel properly, my grandfather-in-law said with a slightly sad face, almost like he was talking to himself. Christopher is my father-in-law, and Daniel is my husband. I think about how everyone can be kinder to my grandfather-in-law, but I can't come up with a good idea. But then my in-laws suggested building a house for my grandfather-in-law. This house is over 50 years old, right? The layout is bad, it's hard to use. But instead of spending money on repairs, it would be better to build a new house in a more convenient location. A new house? Michael is getting older, and it's good that he only got injured last time, but we never know what will happen. So let's make the house barrier-free so we won't have trouble if care is needed. I see. We can even put Michael's room in the middle so everyone can take care of him easily. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Right, so it's settled then. And Michael, at the cost. If it's a house for all of us, I'll take care of it. Talk to Mr. Jones about the money. Typical Michael, thank you. We appreciate it, my mother-in-law smiled happily. It seems to me that they only flatter him when they want money. But if everyone takes care of my grandfather-in-law after moving to the new house, I thought there could be nothing better. Mr. Jones is the company's in-house counsel and also manages my grandfather-in-law's personal assets. My grandfather-in-law liked his character and made him in-house counsel, and it's been nearly 30 years. He is 58 now and the person my grandfather-in-law trusts the most. I've met him several times and he seems to be a very honest person. He always cares about my grandfather-in-law's health, and sometimes I think he's more like a son than his real sons. Having such people around my grandfather-in-law makes me feel a little relieved. I wasn't informed about the details of the house being built, but my mother-in-law seemed very cheerful, and the three of them were looking at interior design magazines and discussing various things, so it seemed to be going smoothly. Then something unexpected happened. It was revealed that my grandfather-in-law had a debt of $1,820,000. Wait, what's this about $1,820,000? I exclaimed. My grandfather-in-law had become a co-signer for a loan for a friend's company, but that company was in trouble, and the debt had become my grandfather-in-law's responsibility. Wait, they're not going to take the house. It's under construction, are they? Since the contract has already been completed, and as Patricia said, it's in the president's name, so it's fine, my mother-in-law seemed relieved at those words. Oh, thank goodness. I'm glad we did it my way. Listening to that conversation, I learned for the first time that the house was in my father-in-law's name. Even though my grandfather-in-law had paid for it, putting it in my father-in-law's name seemed just like something my mother-in-law would do. I also wondered why they didn't think of giving up the house to help repay the debt. Hey, this debt is Michael's fault, and it has nothing to do with us or the company, right? Well, it was signed in Michael's name. Oh good, then there's no problem. I couldn't understand what was good about it, but since my grandfather-in-law didn't say anything during that conversation, I didn't intervene either. After all, it's not an amount I could handle. A few days later, my grandfather-in-law's behavior began to change gradually. Grandpa, what would you like to eat for lunch? Who are you calling Grandpa? I'm only 50. You have no right to call me that. Huh? Sorry, Emily, right? I was lost in thought. At first, I thought he was just deep in thought, and when it happened repeatedly, I began to feel uneasy. Patricia, what are you doing? Where's my meal? Grandpa, I'm Emily. Patricia is your daughter-in-law. You ate your meal earlier. Didn't eat? Are you trying to starve me? I wondered if my grandfather-in-law's condition was triggered by the $1,820,000 debt, and seeing that none of his family members were trying to help him might have been a double shock. I tried to persuade my grandfather-in-law to go to the hospital, but he adamantly refused. He might not want to admit that he could have dementia. I didn't want to force him, but I felt helpless on my own. I consulted my husband, but he simply brushed it off, saying it had nothing to do with him. My mother-in-law wasn't any help either, so I turned to my father-in-law as the only option. Yeah, I heard from Patricia, Daniel. They think it might be dementia. Can you go to the hospital with us? I asked him. But it's not that bad yet, right? If we go to the hospital, others will find out my father has dementia, he responded. There are good medications now that can slow the progression. Well, there's no need to rush. Let's watch him a little longer. Emily is here, so they'll be fine, right? I couldn't help but feel frustrated by their lack of concern. I couldn't depend on them. Grandpa, let's go to the hospital. Let's see you properly examined, I urged. Who are you? Where are you planning to take me? You're up to no good, he retorted. I felt tears welling up, seeing how stubborn my once kind grandfather-in-law had become. But my mother-in-law just laughed, amused. Even if he was the chairman, it's over for him now. But now everything, even the company, is all Christopher's, she remarked casually.
Patricia, Grandpa isn't completely unaware. He's listening to everything. He'll forget everything soon. He'll start wandering, dribbling. Just thinking about it gives me chills. He's nothing but a nuisance now, I protested. How can you say that? Grandpa has worked hard for the family all of his life. My mother-in-law's words made me both angry and sad. But my grandfather-in-law just smiled. See, this old man doesn't understand anything, she added, laughing. Patricia, I was furious at my mother-in-law's callousness. But soon the new house would be ready. Perhaps things might change once we move there. Since it's a house that Grandpa built, the family might show some gratitude and be kind to him. I couldn't completely abandon that faint hope. And 2 months later, the house was finally built. For days, I had been compelled to pack my in-laws' and husband's belongings, while my father-in-law's and my own items remained mostly untouched. Even when I attempted to organize my things, my in-laws and husband kept assigning me tasks, preventing any progress. However, I reasoned it would be okay to relocate the smaller items later since this house wasn't disappearing. On moving day, after transferring most of the belongings, I went to call my father-in-law, but my husband intercepted me. Ah, you and Grandpa can stay here, he announced. What? You can stay in his house. We don't need any extra baggage in the new house. In other words, you and Grandpa will live here from now on, and I'll give you Grandpa's debt too. Well, you can at least be a housekeeper. Hey, let's go. Yeah, I'm coming. Good luck with all the debt repayment and live-in care. My in-laws cheerfully departed, leaving me stunned. For a while, I couldn't comprehend what had just occurred. Were we abandoned, not just me, but also my grandfather-in-law, only they would reside in the new house? It took me some time to grasp because it was beyond my imagination that someone could be so cruel. How should I explain this to my grandfather-in-law? Slowly, I made my way back to the rear room. I didn't mind caring for my grandfather-in-law at all. That was my intention from the start. As I timidly prepared to call out to him, noticing his back facing me, he seemed to sense my presence and turned around before I could speak. Have they gone already? His expression as he uttered those words looked entirely different from what it had been just months ago. To be honest, he seemed like a different person. I wondered if a new symptom had emerged, but the next moment my grandfather-in-law smiled, and his subsequent words caught me off guard. As I was talking to my grandfather-in-law, Mr. Jones came. Chairman, have you finished getting rid of the unnecessary staff? Yes, it's all done. Let's go, shall we? Where are we going? Of course, to the new house. I left the house where I had been residing, guided by my grandfather-in-law, without fully understanding what was unfolding. The following month, my mother-in-law and husband bombarded me with countless calls. My grandfather-in-law declared he wouldn't entertain their calls anymore, but I answered my husband's call due to the looming divorce. Hey, Emily, is Grandpa with you? When I went to the old house, it was up for sale. It's not worth $1,800,000 $820,000. So you can't repay the debt. Is that why you did that? My husband interrogated. What do you mean? Put Grandpa on. Dad said he can't get in touch at all. That forgetful old man has done something outrageous. I knew what he was referring to, but I wanted to hear my husband's side of the story. Grandpa sold the company's stocks to the executive director. Thanks to that, the executive director became the largest shareholder, and a shareholders' meeting and board meeting were held, resulting in Dad being dismissed as president. But the executive director is well liked, and maybe Grandpa thought it was better to hand over the company to him. The executive director must have deceived the senile old man into selling the stocks. This is invalid. You seem to be misunderstanding something, but Grandpa doesn't have dementia. If anything, he seems more coherent than before. What? Until that moving day, I genuinely believed that my grandfather-in-law had dementia. It appears that my grandfather-in-law harbored suspicions from the moment my mother-in-law mentioned building a house to live with him, so he devised a plan. He feigned dementia to observe how my in-laws and husband would react. As anticipated, they revealed their true colors, one after another. In the end, they left my grandfather-in-law and me behind. I struggled to contain my laughter because everything unfolded exactly as I had expected. My grandfather-in-law then said, I found myself surprised, relieved, and slightly conflicted. To deceive the enemy, you must first deceive your allies, my grandfather-in-law chuckled. It seemed he had been receiving regular updates on the company from the executive director and Mr. Jones. With my grandfather-in-law gone, my father-in-law and husband acted as they pleased, self-righteous, and completely ignoring the opinions of the employees, often entertaining at the company's expense. Eventually, my grandfather-in-law handed over the company to my father-in-law, but he harbored concerns about the future, leading him to take decisive action. In the end, he decided he couldn't entrust it to his son and left it to the executive director. I explained. What about the $1,820,000 debt? My husband inquired. That's gone now, I replied. Indeed, my grandfather-in-law had been a guarantor for a friend's dad, but he had personal assets exceeding that amount. However, I deliberately omitted this information to avoid my mother-in-law and husband targeting those assets. The friend was the son of a benefactor who had helped my father-in-law when he was young. Moreover, the countryside land owned by the son was going to be developed into a resort, allowing him to sell it at a high price. I explained further. You're kidding, my husband exclaimed. More importantly, are you guys okay? I asked, concerned. We're not okay. Both my father and I were denounced by the company. What should we do now? My husband lamented. Well, there's also the mortgage on the house, I revealed. What? What do you mean, the mortgage on the house? My husband was taken aback. Haven't you realized it yet? The house money should have all been paid by Grandpa, I clarified. Christopher signed without checking everything. It shows he really didn't have the qualities of a president, I added. You're kidding, my husband sighed. As a consequence, my parents-in-law lost the house they had built because they couldn't pay the mortgage. Now they reside in an old apartment over 50 years old, struggling to repay the unpaid loan. Despite their alternating attempts to contact me, suggesting we all live together, it was impossible now. My grandfather-in-law retired from his chairman position and bought an old house in the countryside. Emily, you can go and live wherever you like freely. You don't have to worry about living expenses, my grandfather-in-law assured me. But I chose to be with him. If I'm not in the way, please let me be with you, I expressed, tears welling up in my eyes. My grandfather-in-law's eyes welled up too. Thanks to Mr. Jones, the divorce was finalized and procedures were taken to exclude my former father-in-law and former husband from inheritance. I became my grandfather-in-law's adopted daughter. If anything happens to him, I intend to take care of him until the end. Now, the two of us enjoy working in the fields together. Dad, look at this radish, it's big, I exclaimed as warm moments flowed in the pouring sunlight. I wish for these days to continue, even just one day longer.
Could this truly be my family? That lingering question plagued my thoughts as I watched them put on their facade, smiles masking their true intentions. It didn't take long for me to harbor resentment toward this semblance of kinship. My name is Samantha, a 28-year-old homemaker. A year ago, I exchanged vows and moved back into my childhood home with my new family. Our circumstances unraveled due to three undeniable reasons. Firstly, my father's company succumbed to bankruptcy, leaving him adrift in a sea of unemployment. Secondly, my elder brother Ryan remains jobless, a fact deemed intolerable in the eyes of our family patriarch. Despite his claims of being a YouTuber, our parents failed to perceive his endeavor as legitimate employment. Thirdly, the looming presence of my mother's terminal illness hangs over us like a dark cloud. Diagnosed shortly before my marriage, she was given a mere 2 years to live. The convergence of these events unfolded in rapid succession, altering the fabric of our lives irreversibly. My father proposed that my husband, Alex, move in with us. Given their close bond and frequent shared moments over drinks, Alex readily agreed. Considering my mother's condition, I too consented to the arrangement, feeling grateful for Alex's support. I was determined to care for my parents to the best of my ability. However, as the year passed since our marriage and cohabitation, my patience with my brother Ryan began to wear thin. It's been quite some time. Why are you content with being a housewife when Dad is without a job? Isn't it odd that you're not contributing financially? Do you even understand the gravity of Mom's situation? What would happen if I didn't handle the household chores, laundry, and meals, Ryan? It's me who's taking care of it all. Your tone drips with sarcasm, yet you have the audacity to speak to me in such a manner. And what about your so-called work from home? Oh, you mean those meager earnings from your side hustle? That hardly qualifies as real work. I don't need to hear this from you, Ryan. Find a real job. Clear? Those words sliced through me like a knife, igniting a firestorm of indignation within. His unfounded accusations left me feeling unjustly attacked, as if I were being painted as the villain in a story I had no part in. When I sought solace in Alex's counsel, his dismissive response of "he's probably just stressed, don't pay him any mind," offered little comfort, failing to grasp the gravity of my predicament. With my mother's illness weighing heavily on my mind, my brother's callous behavior only added fuel to the fire of my frustration. I couldn't shake the nagging question of whether he even cared about our mother's well-being. His indifference seemed glaringly obvious, leaving me to grapple with mounting stress and anxiety. Hey, looks like my workload might be ramping up. If it does, I might have to skip our usual spa trips for a while. I'm fine with that, but as long as you can handle things at home, we still got to take care of my mom. Don't worry, I won't slack off on my duties. Need some extra cash or anything? No, not really. But could you come grocery shopping with me this weekend? If I buy everything for the week in one go, it'll free up some time for work. If you're serious about this, sure, we'll make a trip out of it. Keen to save time, I opted for a weekend grocery run, planning to stock up for the entire week in one shot to minimize future trips. Then, an unexpected incident unfolded. So, Mad Dog, you've swiped my cash. Out of nowhere, my husband pointed an accusing finger at me, alleging theft. Bewildered, I struggled to comprehend his accusations, let alone discern which money he was referring to. His face flushed crimson with anger as he directed his ire toward me. I couldn't fathom why he'd pin it on me. If anything, I should be the one furious. Blaming others isn't fair. Was it taken from your wallet? Don't act innocent. The $3,000 I stashed in the drawer is nowhere to be found. $3,000? Look, return it now, and we can put this behind us. Wait a minute. Why am I the scapegoat here? I had no clue you were hoarding such a hefty sum in the drawer. But you mentioned you were planning to take on more work lately. I found it rather suspicious. I can't believe you'd think so low of me. No, you've got it all twisted. Please trust me. I'm sorry, but I can't continue this if you won't trust me. Stop this nonsense. Give it back. No, I said give it back. Enough. If you're going to harbor that much doubt, then go ahead. Consider me gone, treated like a criminal in my own family. I'll be out of here by the day's end. I snapped, my patience worn thin by the accusations hurled at me by my own family. Banished from the house, I left in a storm of frustration. However, the next day, I received a frantic call from my brother Ran. Mom's in a terrible state. What? Ever since she realized you were gone, she's been in a state of panic, screaming for you. You need to return and calm her down. I refuse to set foot in that house again. I'm entrusting Mom to you, Ryan. You've never stepped up before, so now's your chance. With a steely resolve, I spoke, though inwardly conflicted. The tug of war between my pride and my worry for Mom weighed heavily on me. Enough with the bravado. This is too much for me to handle alone. She only listens to you, so just come back. Even Alex doesn't know how to handle this. I don't care. You reap what you sow. I will return, and I'm filing for divorce. I couldn't care less about that. It's none of my concern. But if it comes to it, you should take Mom with you. This is Mom and Dad's home. Why should I be the one to leave? If anyone should go, it's you, Ryan. If you're working, you should be self-sufficient. As the eldest son, this house belongs to me. There's no way I'm budging. You have some nerve. Have you ever stopped to think about Mom's well-being? She's fighting an illness right now. I'll return on one condition. You leave, Ryan. Those are my terms. I can't agree to that. It's simply not possible. Quit being so self-centered and come back already. Even amidst such turmoil, Ryan remained obstinate and self-centered. Meanwhile, Alex's absence was conspicuous, seemingly content to linger in the house. Perhaps feeling uneasy, he only returned to sleep, opting to dine elsewhere. My departure had evidently triggered a cascade of discord within the family. I hadn't realized our bonds were so fragile. Then, after a month had elapsed, Alex finally reached out. Hey, how long do you plan to stay away? Come back already. Your mother-in-law is becoming increasingly difficult to handle, posing a significant challenge. Once that's sorted and you've left, we can proceed with the divorce, of course. I'll return. Are you seriously considering that? Of course. I've been accused of theft and ejected from my own home. Wasn't that just an argument in the heat of the moment? You doubted your own family. I feel like I've failed in life. There's no trust left. Don't be ridiculous. The money is missing, and you're the only logical suspect. It's absurd to point fingers without evidence. Spare me your lectures. Just return the money, and we can put an end to this. You're the one acting foolish. Stop with the accusations. The truth is, you were desperate for money at that time. It's all too convenient. The culprit could only be you, criminal. Enough! Do you even want to know why I needed the money? I couldn't care less. Probably some frivolous purchase, like jewelry or whatnot. You were itching to get your hands on that cash. What's happening tomorrow? Huh? Are you serious? You don't even remember your own birthday. Oh, my birthday. Hold on, don't tell me. That's correct. Just as you suspected. I thought it was about time you had a new suit, and since you mentioned wanting a custom-made one, I was saving up for it. But it wasn't enough. Idiot! You know custom suits cost a fortune, and we can't afford that. That's precisely why I wanted to surprise you with it so badly. Yet you accused me of theft, and that hurt. Hold on, I had no idea. Please forgive me. It's not something to get so worked up about, right? I can't forgive you. The trust is shattered, so it's over. I'm sorry, but divorce is the only option now. That's why I've already consulted a lawyer. Or an attorney. Cut that out. I want to resolve this swiftly and return to my mom's place. I refuse. I won't divorce, and I won't vacate this house. We're meant to inherit it, after all. Huh? My resolve to divorce only solidified as Alex's demeanor remained unchanged. If he persists with this attitude, the divorce proceedings are bound to become tumultuous. Nevertheless, I stood firm in my decision. Amidst these thoughts, my brother reached out to me once more. Stop this nonsense. You need to return immediately. No chance. Why didn't you say anything before? What do you mean? Mom spilled the beans. She revealed that you've been footing the mortgage on this house. And not just that, you've been covering all the living expenses as well. Isn't it odd that you were unaware? And your job alone wouldn't suffice to cover all the expenses. But we can't afford the mortgage. What are you talking about? You have a job. yet you haven't contributed a dime to the household expenses. It's your responsibility to pay. Well, yes, but I invested in a computer, a top-of-the-line one. It was quite pricey. What? You spend money on a computer? Because I needed it for work. What choice did I have? Oh, so you're making enough to afford such luxuries. Then surely you can contribute to the mortgage, right? I've already told you I can't afford it, and your husband isn't chipping in for household expenses either. What's going on? Until now, I've been covering everything with my earnings, but now that Alex is dining out for every meal, there's no surplus money. What are we going to do? We need to come up with a solution fast. If we don't pay the mortgage, we'll end up homeless. And what about Mom and Dad? I had reached my limit with my brother's self-centered mindset. Enough already. Who cares about your video game streaming? You barely have 100 subscribers, and your views are in single digits. You won't make any money like that. Nobody watches because it's not interesting. How would you know? I just searched for video game streaming, and it popped up. Wearing a mask and sunglasses doesn't make you unrecognizable. How did you afford a computer with that? Don't tell me you. I didn't take any money from your husband. How would you know about that? Something doesn't add up. Well, actually, I overheard your conversation. What? There was nobody home when we had that argument. You were out, which is unusual for you. That's a misunderstanding. You must have mixed up the dates. Quit playing games. You're the one who stole it, aren't you? If you don't confess, I'll report you to the police. Wait, hold on. Report me to the police. Please, no, don't do that. I just found some money and I borrowed it. I promise I'll pay it back. Stop with the excuses. I'll never forgive you. Get out of my house now. I'll be back tomorrow, and if you're still here, I'm calling the cops. Don't talk to me like that. We're siblings. We're family. Can't things just stay the same? Don't try to sweet-talk your way out of this. I'll never forgive you. Remember that. Leave before I return tomorrow. Consider yourself warned. Without another word, I ended the call with my brother and switched off my phone. It seemed like he kept calling incessantly afterward, but I ignored it all. The next morning, I returned home. I'm back. My mother rushed to greet me. Mom, you're home. I'm so relieved. I never realized how much we need you, Samantha. I'm truly sorry. Mom, it's not your fault. As we conversed in the living room, my brother Ryan emerged from his room, uttering words that left me dumbfounded. So, you decided to grace us with your presence. Here are the details for the loan repayment. Make sure it's transferred today. Also, I've got a tab open at the delivery place, so you can handle that too. It's your fault for disappearing like this. Take some time to reflect on your actions. What on earth are you saying? Stop this nonsense. I told you to leave. I will call the police. You're risking everything over just $3,000. What $3,000? Don't pretend you don't. Whine all you want. But borrowing a little isn't that big of a deal. You're making a fuss over nothing. Big deal? You take my money, then brush it off like it's nothing. That's not fair, is it? Can I have it back? I don't recall lending it to you. Living under my roof doesn't give you the right to be so entitled. We're family. Can't you just let it slide? No, I can't just let it slide. Give it back. Are you sure you want to continue like this? You might not have a place to stay much longer. Witnessing Alex and my brother's argument, my father intervened. This is unlike you, Dad. Enough. Both of you, leave this house. It's my house, and currently, Samantha is the one paying the mortgage. I won't hand it over to anyone. I may be the eldest son, but why is my sister taking charge? You're just the eldest son in name. What have you accomplished? You've been holed up, gaming all day. No job, just coasting on the money I've earned, right? You're over 40. Act your age. Leave. That's too harsh. Isn't it heartless to kick out a man with no means? I've been saying this for ages. This isn't a sudden problem. You could sell that computer of yours. You're not even working. Wait a minute. When I say leave, you leave. And that includes you. What? But I haven't done anything. Haven't done anything? Who drove Samantha away, treating her like a criminal? Marriage is built on trust. Once that's broken, family falls apart. I apologize. I'm sorry. But it was your son, Ryan, who stole, wasn't it? Don't pin it all on me. You befriended me just to worm your way into inheriting my assets, didn't you? The moment I lost my job and the company's collapse, you treated me like dirt because I'm a broke father, right? How despicable. What a vile person you are. I don't want to lay eyes on you. Get out. Don't you dare mess with me. My father's words left me stunned. Perhaps his sudden outburst was the culmination of his frustration reaching its peak. The divorce with Alex was finalized swiftly, ending abruptly. It felt surprisingly relieving, considering I anticipated it to be more complicated. However, after that, Alex reached out to me numerous times. It seems the reason for our divorce became gossip at his workplace, and he couldn't handle it, so he quit. He needs to realize that relying on others' money won't lead him anywhere. And my brother appears to be struggling, taking up a cleaning job at the station. A late start indeed. As for me, I have no choice but to give it my all, praying for my mother's prolonged life. Our family is starting anew with just the three of us, and the brightness has returned to our home life. I've already invested $60,000 simply to ensure your happiness. Yet, how could you reduce me to merely a wallet or an ATM? We don't recall ever soliciting your assistance. Lily, Max's wife, scoffed with disdain. Why don't you attempt to cease the payments if they trouble you so much? After all, I am quite capable of handling it myself, Max added in a dismissive tone, echoing his wife's sentiments. Even Max, my eldest son whom I've raised, behaves in such a manner. After coercing me into covering the costs of a $20,000 engagement party and then a $40,000 wedding, they have the audacity to treat me like this. They only perceive me as a source of funds, lamented Chloe, Max's mother, feeling disheartened by the lack of gratitude. I must have made a mistake in raising my son. I'll never allow them to manipulate me again, Chloe declared, firm in her resolve. I've heard you loud and clear, Max retorted. Are you sure about that? You know we won't let you see your grandchild, right? He threatened. You don't have to. I'd be more than happy to discontinue the payments, Chloe responded calmly. From that point on, Max and Lily faced a steep decline in their fortunes, having treated Chloe like a bottomless source of money. My name is Chloe. I'm 56 years old. I've been struggling alone ever since my husband passed away 12 years ago. Between my job and raising my two children, I've always had my hands full, Chloe reflected on her life. I'm currently an executive at a decent company that I've been with since before I got married. To the outside world, I guess you could call me a career woman, she continued. The children who were high schoolers when my husband died have now graduated college and are working, so I'm a bit relieved. I just wish they'd settle down and start their own family soon, Chloe sighed, contemplating her future. Living comfortably in the condominium that she used to share with her children, Chloe's life took an unexpected turn when Max called her one day. I want to introduce you to a woman I'm thinking of marrying, Max said excitedly. Delighted, Chloe agreed, and when Max brought Lily, his fiancée, to meet her, Chloe couldn't help but be proud. Nice to meet you. I look forward to getting to know you, Chloe greeted Lily warmly. The woman Max introduced as Lily was a receptionist at his company, strikingly beautiful, and Chloe couldn't help but feel pleased that her son had found someone like her. Congratulations to you both. I'm here to support your happiness, Chloe said, beaming with joy. Their conversation flowed, and eventually, the topic of the engagement party arose. We're planning to have an engagement party soon, Max informed Chloe. I need to start preparations, then Mom, could you cover the $20,000 cost for the engagement party? Max sprung the request on Chloe, his mother. Taken aback by the hefty sum, Chloe hesitated momentarily. I thought the average cost was around $10,000. However, seeing their happy faces, I couldn't refuse and agreed. Of course, it's a happy occasion, she conceded. Later, Chloe's eldest daughter, Mia, paid her a visit. How's work going? The deadline was yesterday, Chloe inquired, concerned for Maya's well-being. I'm managing well, so don't worry, Maya reassured her mother. A manga artist, Mia hadn't yet struck gold with a major hit but managed to make a living through her series. With her talent in drawing and her love for manga, it seemed like the perfect fit for her. By the way, Mom, Max is getting married, isn't he? Mia inquired. Yes, he came by the other day with his fiancée, Lily, to introduce her. They've asked for $20,000 for the engagement party, Chloe informed Mia. Wow, $20,000 is a hefty sum for sure, Maya remarked. It's not like that. Apparently, they're going to split it for their wedding funds and to send gifts of gratitude. Is that how it works? Chloe wondered aloud. On the day of the engagement party, Chloe handed over the promised $20,000. Both Lily and her parents looked delighted. We'll use this to start our new life together, they exclaimed, stashing away the money. There were no gifts of gratitude that Chloe expected, but she reminded herself that this was typical of engagement parties. As long as they could have a happy marriage, she reasoned, it was okay. However, a few days later, Max dropped a bombshell. I want a grand wedding with lots of company and connections invited, maybe around 250 people, he announced. That sounds wonderful. And with that, Mom, I'd like to ask you to cover the upfront cost of the wedding, Max requested. What? I was under the impression that weddings were funded by the couple themselves, Chloe protested. I'm counting on you, Mom. It's pretty standard for parents to pay for the wedding. But didn't I give a lot of money for the engagement party? Lily's parents are frail and can't contribute, and I'll give you back the wedding gift, Max pressed on, leaving Chloe feeling reluctant to agree. I opened the bill Max had brought, and to my shock, the amount totaled $40,000. The idea of such an upfront cost made my head spin. How grand of a wedding were they planning? Wait a minute. Isn't this a bit too much? Why not have a wedding within your means? I questioned, feeling overwhelmed. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event, and Lily doesn't want to compromise. Plus, don't you want Lily's parents to see how happy she is? Max countered, cornering me. Being pressured like that, I couldn't refuse. All right, it's indeed a joyous once-in-a-lifetime occasion, I conceded reluctantly. Seeing my consent, Max smiled and thanked me before leaving the room. Later, I transferred the upfront cost of $40,000 to the wedding venue. It was difficult to part with the money I had been saving for my retirement, but I told myself it was for my child's happiness. 2 months later, on the wedding day, the venue was more luxurious than I had anticipated. Mia and I arrived early in the morning to change into our dresses and get our hair done. As I approached the bride and groom's dressing room to knock, I'd overheard their conversation. I can't believe we're able to have such a lavish wedding, thanks to Mom, Max exclaimed. Absolutely, and she gave us $20,000 for the engagement party. I even managed to buy a new bag. What a great wallet, more like an ATM. Let's keep withdrawing from it, Max, Lily chimed in. That's mean, Maya whispered, stunned by their conversation. Lily continued gleefully, if we ask her, she'll probably cover the rest of the wedding costs, right? Of course you will. Leave it to me. Then let's use the wedding gift for a honeymoon trip to Hawaii. And of course, we'll take my parents along. How about buying a high-rise apartment for our new home? That sounds perfect. Let's get my mother to cover the cost. She does have the money, after all, Max proposed eagerly. My hand, raised to knock on the door, trembled. Mia gently held my shoulder and led me away from the door, breathing slowly. I grasped Mia's hand, which rested gently on my shoulder, and whispered, Mia, there's something I need you to look into when the ceremony starts. Of course, Mom. Leave it to me, Maya assured me. And so Max and Lily's wedding commenced. From their vows in the chapel to the toasts at the start of the reception, my mind was consumed with the conversation between Max and Lily earlier. Even as the MC introduced me and the spotlight fell on me, all I could manage was a bow. Mia, who had been circulating and offering toasts, returned to me. Mom, I checked with Lily's relatives. Both of her parents are perfectly healthy. That's horrible. We need to confront them. I'll be right there with you, I declared. Just as Mia spoke, it was time for the first wardrobe change. Lily exited first, followed by Max. As Max emerged, the MC announced, "Now the groom will exit, escorted by his mother, Chloe, who raised him single-handedly." Summoned, I walked down the aisle to meet Max. A little tipsy, Max was in high spirits, announcing into the MC's microphone, "This is my amazing mom." Keeping a straight face, I walked beside Max, exited the hall, and headed straight to the dressing room where Maya was waiting. She approached Max and began, "Max, there's something I need to ask you." "What is it, sis? Make it quick." "I need to change and get back," Max replied curtly as he undressed. "I've heard the conversation in the dressing room earlier. How could you talk about mom like that?" Mia confronted him. "Huh, you were listening? Well, whatever." Max dismissed her with a shrug. Taken aback by Max's attitude, Lily, who had already changed into her dress, entered the room. "Mother-in-law and sister-in-law, what's going on?" she demanded. "Mia found out that your parents are healthy. They both have good jobs. Why are you making our mom pay for everything? What's going on?" I added, unable to contain my frustration. "What is this, some kind of sister-in-law bullying?" "Scary," Lily mocked, dramatically recoiling. My patience snapped at her mocking attitude. "I've already paid $60,000 hoping for your happiness, and yet you treat people like they're wallets, ATMs. What kind of language is that?" I confronted Lily, exasperated by her dismissive attitude. Hearing this, Lily laughed as if it were a joke. "Acting all high and mighty for such a small sum. We're not in your debt. Besides, it's normal for the groom's parents to pay for the wedding, right? But you lied about your parents being ill to buy a new bag." "Who, you were eavesdropping. That's a terrible hobby," Lily retorted, mocking Mia. Mia, angered by Lily's words, snapped back, "Watch your mouth. I don't want to be told off by someone doing some weird job as a manga artist. It's because you're such a nerd that you can't get married." "That's right, you're hopeless when it comes to marriage, sis." Max chimed in, joining Lily in the mockery. Stunned speechless by their cruelty, I tried to scold them, but Max just laughed and responded, "If you're going to talk like that, try stopping the payments. After all, I'm an elite. I can easily handle it. Well, it'll be a shame to lose the cash cow." I had paid $20,000 for the engagement party and $40,000 for the wedding, and this was how they repaid me. No gratitude, only cruelty. Feeling like I had failed somewhere in raising my son, I made a firm decision. I've had enough. I won't be manipulated by them anymore. "I've heard all you have to say." "Are you sure about that?" "If you don't listen to us, you won't see your grandchild," Max threatened. "That's fine. You don't need to bring them over. I'll gladly stop the payments," I replied firmly, refusing to yield to their threats. Max and Lily stared at me, stunned, as I continued, "I'm severing hard ties here. I wish you all the best." Taking Maya's hand, we left the venue, the joyous noise of the reception still audible as we departed. A month later, as Mia and I were enjoying some tea at home, the intercom rang with a shrill tone. "Oh, Mom, it's Max. What should we do?" Mia asked, uncertainty evident in her voice. It had been a month since I last saw Max. When he showed up unexpectedly, he looked remarkably worn and tired. "Mom, you must have received the bill for the wedding venue by now. Why haven't you paid?" Max questioned urgently. "Huh? Oh, the bill for the remaining balance. It was $45,000, right? It arrived, but I have no obligation to pay it," I replied, taken aback by his insistence. "Don't be like that. In the end, we didn't receive many wedding gifts and couldn't pay the bill, so now we're in debt," Max explained, pleading for understanding. At that, Mia laughed and chimed in. "From what I overheard at the wedding, it seems you two have quite a bad reputation. Max, you've been throwing your weight around at work, doing haphazard jobs. And Lily, you've been putting down other women, flaunting your looks in marriage. I can see why people wouldn't want to give wedding gifts to people like you." "Hey sis, stay out of this," Max snapped, clearly annoyed by Mia's comment. I sighed deeply. You too. It's not just me you haven't been considerate of. It's everyone around you. The wedding expenses are your own doing. Please pay them yourselves. Desperately, Max pleaded, Mom, I'm in a bind here. Lily can't control her spending, and even her parents have started to take advantage of me. Lily's love of money isn't exactly a new revelation, Mom. Plus, having seen Lily, I can easily imagine her parents behaving the same way. Please, Mom, think about helping us. Give us some money. I sternly replied, You were the one who said I'm an elite, and it'll be a piece of cake. You told me to stop making payments, didn't you? And didn't you say that we were severing our ties? I have no obligation to give you any more money. Mom, don't call me Mom. I don't want to be called that by someone who has only ever seen me as a cash cow. To be honest, I'd like you to repay me for the wedding and the engagement party, but I'll write it off as a settlement payment. Now please leave, I declared firmly. Max, who had looked shocked, now had a malicious look on his face. Hey, are you really okay with this, Mom? Cutting ties with us like that? How will you spend your old age without a husband? Don't you want to see your grandchild? He challenged. Before I could respond, Mia intervened. Don't worry about that. I will be by Mom's side. And what can an unsuccessful comic artist like you do? You can't even have children. Shut up, Max, she retorted sharply. Max, frothing at the mouth with anger, sneered. Ah, so scary. Sure, you mock me as a failed manga artist or an otaku, yet my manga was among the top-selling Kyoto manga this year. Did you know it's set to be turned into an anime movie next year? Safe to say, I'm in a much better financial state than you and your debts. At this point, Max noticed something. Hey, is that this? Oh, you noticed. Yes, that's what's happening, Mia confirmed, flashing the ring on her left ring finger. I'm getting married to my editor. He's a big shot at a major publishing house, a real high flyer. So we can take care of Mom. We don't need you anyway. We never intended to have our children care for us. Thanks, Mia. We're having a wedding, but we'll handle everything ourselves. We'll invite Mom, Max, but you don't need to come, Mia concluded, leaving Max stunned. I said, Did you get it now? Never bother us again. With those words, Mia and I steadily pushed Max towards the front door. Please, Mom, and you too. Sis, Max pleaded, but it was time to make a stand. Then something came to mind. What are you going to give us money for? Max's hopeful expression turned sour as I continued. That director at your wedding? Turns out, I didn't know. But he's a client of my company. It seems your hiring and all your undeserved privileges were out of consideration for me. I told him to stop that, though. What? You didn't hear about this? Stop it, please. Handle it on your own. Now goodbye. With finality, Mia and I pushed Max outside and firmly locked the door. Max made a fuss outside, but after ignoring him for a while, it became quiet. A year passed since then. Right after that incident, I sold a house to avoid Max and Lily's visit and bought an apartment with elderly services for my old age. According to a neighbor from my condo, Max and Lily showed up and created a scene, asking why I wasn't there. Hence, I believe my decision was the right one. As for Max and Lily, they'd abandoned their dream of a luxury high-rise apartment and now live in a cramped space. Max, it seems, was demoted after his actions were reviewed. Perhaps hurt from falling from his elite status, Max worsened his attitude towards others. Surprisingly, he's not fired yet. Lily, who quit her job upon marriage, continued to splurge for a while, but their funds quickly ran out. Even with their debts, Lily's luxurious habits did not change, and her parents continued to demand money. Apparently, they quarrel daily. I hope the two learn the hardship of earning money and appreciate the people around them and grow up, though that might be too much to ask from them. I still maintain a good relationship with Mia. Mia's husband is a good man who treats me well, and they are expecting a baby. I plan to spoil my lovely daughter and grandchild, and looking forward to it keeps me working every day.
It's like a dream come true. We got a huge $300 million inheritance in our very own company. When the workers saw my sister-in-law, Mary, celebrating our dad's inheritance, they started whispering to each other. They were super happy, and Mary proudly said, "Shay, keep it down. This is the moment when my husband gets to take over the company and get $3 million." After hearing that, one of the workers burst out laughing. My older brother, sitting next to his confused wife, was reading a will from the lawyer. His face went pale as he read it. "Look at this," my brother said, showing her the will. She screamed. "I'm Lucy, 29 years old, and I work for my dad's business. When he was young, my dad had the smart idea to start a business from scratch. Over time, it grew into a decent-sized company with lots of workers. But right after starting the business, he got into debt. Even as a little kid, I could see how tough it was for my dad. Even when the company got bigger, I still wanted to help my mom with her clerical work in the office. My parents told me I could go to college and choose any career I wanted, but I really wanted to work for my dad's company. That's all I could think about when I finished high school. When I joined my dad's company, Bob, who had been working there for a long time, was the first person to teach me about business. He didn't treat me differently just because I was the boss's daughter. Thanks to Bob, I got to learn a lot about how the company works. My brother Tom, who's only 2 years older than me, went to college to learn about management. He was always proud to tell people that our dad ran a business and that he would take over one day. Tom's friends would ask him, "What are your plans after college, Tom? Are you going to find a job?" Tom would say, "I don't mean to find a job because I'll be working for my dad's company. I'll become the president eventually, so I'm taking my time to learn about management until then." "Wow, you're going to be the next president. That sounds like a really stable future. I'm kinda jealous," one of Tom's friends said. "Tom, you have a younger sister too, right? Won't there be a competition over who gets to take over the company?" Another friend asked. "Yeah, I have a younger sister, but she's just finished high school and she's pretty down to earth," Tom replied. "You always say that, but I've heard she's actually doing some important work behind the scenes at the company. If I become president, I'll make sure to keep her on board as long as she listens to me," Tom assured. My brother was spending a lot of money and having fun, pretending it was all part of learning to be a business manager. He knew that if he acted well, he'd have lots of friends around him, and being the next president of the company made him popular with women who wanted to date him. He ended up marrying Mary, who was very flashy and attractive. They had a fancy wedding, went on a luxurious honeymoon overseas, built a big mansion, and started their life together. He said he did all this to look good as the future president of the company. Mary seemed happy with Tom. He listened to her and let her enjoy all the fancy things in life. "I doubt she'd want a life like mine, where I work with my mom behind the scenes in my dad's company," I told someone. "Lucy, you don't seem like the CEO's daughter. You don't act like you're the president's daughter," she said. Mary would often laugh at me when we saw each other at family events. "I prefer a simpler life," I said. She looked at me like she felt sorry for me. "I pity you for being the president's daughter but not knowing how to spend money. You still live with your parents and have plenty of money, so you don't need to work hard. And with your title, shouldn't men be drawn to you?" My brother chimed in, "Yeah, she's right. Lucy's always been so humble, people wouldn't even guess her dad's the president. She treats everyone like equals. It's surprising. I still have a lot to learn in my job. Many of my colleagues are better than me, so I can't act like I'm the boss," I argued. But my brother looked shocked. "That's why you're not useful. A boss needs to stand out so they're respected by their team. Let others handle the simple tasks. It seems like only Dad and I are the bosses around here. You shouldn't belittle your team, no matter how powerful you are." Before I could reply, my brother interrupted me, looking annoyed. "A woman who's too logical isn't attractive to men." Then Mary joined in. "If you keep talking like that, you'll never find a husband. You should try to be more appealing, don't you think, Tom?" "Yeah, well, when I become president, I might just fire a humble employee like you," Tom said. After that, my brother and Mary said their piece and left quickly. My mom, who had stayed quiet during all of this, comforted me after they left. She said, "You're doing great work for the company, which really helps me and your dad. Don't let what Tom says bother you." My dad nodded, looking serious. They had already told my brother to his face that they didn't like his ideas. But after that, my brother and Mary got upset and didn't come to our house for over a month. I remembered how gloomy it was during that time, so I told my parents, Tom and Mary can say whatever they want. After that, Tom and Mary kept living their lives however they wanted, going to fancy restaurants and luxury resorts. It was all to make it seem like Tom would be the president of my dad's company one day. My dad was working really hard to grow his business, but one night at home, he started complaining of chest pain. "Dad, are you okay? Just try to stay calm." "I'll call for an ambulance," I said. "Lucy, grab this." As we waited for the ambulance, my dad motioned to a drawer and told me he had a letter for me. I hurriedly grabbed the letter from the drawer. "I want you to read this if anything happens to me. Everything else is up to the lawyers," he said breathlessly before losing consciousness before the ambulance arrived. Despite being rushed to the emergency room, he died without regaining consciousness. My brother and Mary were away on a trip when my father passed away, so they couldn't be there for him. They returned from their trip 2 days later. At the end of my father's funeral, Tom said, "We're just glad we arrived on time. I never imagined my father would pass away while we were on vacation." I was shocked. My brother and Mary showed up at the funeral without any worries, not acknowledging that my mother and I had been left to handle everything. I talked to my brother about it in private, so the other employees wouldn't hear. "Couldn't you have come back home sooner?" I asked my brother in private. "What? I couldn't. Our return flight was already booked." My brother replied without offering an apology, then turned to address the employees. "Thank you all for your support. From now on, I'll be stepping into my father's shoes with dignity," he said. Mary glanced around at the employees, who had gone silent at my brother's words, and praised him, saying, "That's exactly what Tom would do." "Everyone's impressed, right? It's only natural, considering my husband's dignity." With pride, my brother said to me, "Lucy, isn't the ceremony about to begin? Please lead the way." I was annoyed by my brother's tardiness and his arrogance, but I led him and the employees to the meal ceremony table. My brother continued to act arrogantly as we ate. "Lucy, isn't the quality of this food questionable? It might lower our father's reputation as president," he remarked. "Mom and I already discussed it and agreed on the menu. Plus, I don't need you telling me what to do. This is why people don't understand what it means to be president," I snapped back. He not only bossed me around but also gave orders to the other employees serving the guests. "You're useless," he declared. I hurried to intervene when I heard my brother ordering Bob, a longtime employee, around. "Tom, that's not right. Don't talk down to Bob or any of our employees. They deserve respect. Why should I act humble in front of someone who's just an employee? They should show me more respect as the president," he argued. Mary joined in, backing him up. "That's correct. Lucy, stop disrespecting Tom, the president of the company. If you keep disobeying him, he can fire you. He's in charge," she warned. Just as my brother and his wife were getting worked up, a man showed up. "Sorry to interrupt. Your father asked me to handle his inheritance," he revealed. He was the lawyer my father had hired while he was still alive. Then it hit me. My father had mentioned before he passed away that he had already hired a lawyer. It seemed he had been preparing for his death and had spoken with a lawyer a few years back. My brother and Mary's faces lit up when the lawyer mentioned inheritance. They eagerly welcomed him into their room. Tom said, "Thank you for coming. Let's get this done as soon as possible." But as he spoke with the lawyer, Tom started to cry. Wasn't my father's inheritance supposed to be $300 million? Mary, upon hearing this, couldn't contain her excitement. $300 million. That much money for our company is like a dream come true. The employees started whispering when they heard this. Mary proudly announced to the grieving employees, "Quiet down. This is the moment when the company and its $300 million inheritance passed to Tom." Upon hearing this, one of the employees burst into uncontrollable laughter. My brother had the will and was reading it next to Mary, who was puzzled by the employee's reaction. My brother's face went pale as he read. Mary, according to the will, the entire company will be inherited by the eldest daughter, Lucy," he stammered. He stared at the will for a moment, then erupted. "This can't be. It's wrong." The lawyer, sounding troubled, confirmed, "This is a legally binding will." My brother's voice grew more strained. "What? I can't believe this. How can Lucy become president instead of me?" "Maybe Dad was just getting old and forgetful," Mary chimed in. "Yeah, your father wasn't thinking straight. A will made by someone losing their mind is worthless." Hearing this, I lost it. I couldn't stand by while they insulted my late father. I couldn't let anyone, even family, disrespect my father, who was a good man till the end. Stop. The idea of my brother Tom becoming president is even more absurd, in my opinion, I asserted. My brother was furious. What are you trying to say? That I'm not fit to be president? He snapped back. Without hesitation, I fired back, you're absolutely right. How can you lead this company if you've never contributed to it? Don't be ridiculous. Mary and I even built a mansion fit for a president, and we made sure to project the image, he defended. Building a mansion unsuited for a leader and dining extravagantly? That's not good for business. And didn't Dad cover most of the costs for that house and extravagance? How would you even know? I countered. Just before he passed, Dad left me a letter. In it, he outlined all the money he had spent on you and said he would give you a gift during his lifetime. So your share of the estate is practically nothing, I disclosed. Mary panicked. Hold on. Is the inheritance really worth $300 million? Have we already spent that much? It's not fair that we're left with so little. The employee who had been laughing earlier quickly approached Mary and explained that $300 million is from the company's assets, not personal wealth. I'm sure all the employees here understand that. Company funds aren't meant for inheritance, I clarified to Mary. Exactly. The company's money isn't meant to be divided among family members, so I doubt my brother's share is significant, I added. That's heartbreaking, Mary sighed. Oh no, Lucy. Mary was shocked. The inheritance? $300 million? My brother suddenly stood up as if he'd had a revelation and shouted at the employees, Do you really want a plain woman like Lucy as your company president? You must see that I'm more qualified. I have the same charm as my father. None of his colleagues sided with him. Bob took the lead and spoke to my brother. Your father, the one you're succeeding, was a charismatic founder of this company, but you and he are different. What you have is arrogance, not charisma. My brother flew into a rage when Bob calmly countered him. Tom, you may hold a position in our company, but us, the employees, hardly ever see you around. I don't have time for actual work in the company. I'm too busy networking with others. There's no time for menial tasks, my brother argued. Networking? Going on trips and partying all night? Is that what you call networking? That's hardly enough. Bob continued, meanwhile, Lucy's been putting in hard work every day, learning about the company while quietly handling her behind-the-scenes duties. I see the same dedication in her as I did in your father. Lucy is the right person for the job as far as all of us here at the company are concerned, Bob concluded. The other employees nodded in agreement. I was touched and responded, Thank you all so much. Honestly, I'm taken aback by this news, but having seen my father's passion for the company firsthand, I share the same dedication. I'm grateful for your continued support. The employees warmly applauded as I bowed deeply. Emboldened by their applause, I spoke firmly. Each one of you here is a valuable friend who has contributed to our business. Anyone who overlooks that isn't fit to be part of this company, let alone its president. Even the president can be fired by the employees. My brother grew annoyed upon hearing this. What are you talking about? I'm your brother. What are you even talking about? You were the one who said you'd fire me if you became president, brother. I reminded him. I can't keep paying a salary to an incompetent employee just because he's family. This is ridiculous. Can someone please help me out here? My brother pleaded for support from those around him, but all he got were cold stares from the employees. Seeing that nobody was backing him up, my brother and Mary left in a hurry. After that, Tom lost his job and relied on the small inheritance he received, but it didn't last long. Can you lend me some money, Lucy? He asked, kneeling before me. I was disgusted by my brother's behavior. Even after losing his job, he didn't try to find a new one and was still expecting help from the family. I firmly told my mother not to give him any money. His friends, who had once been supportive, turned their backs on him when they found out he lost his presidency to me, his sister. When Mary married my brother, she had envisioned being the wife of the company president, but none of her friends showed any sympathy for her. As their financial situation became dire, my brother and his wife decided to sell their mansion. The proceeds from the sale could have sustained their lifestyle, but without any income, their savings quickly dwindled. When they had nothing left to sell, they struggled to cover their expenses. Eventually, they realized they needed to find work. However, No one was willing to hire them because they lacked any work experience. Eventually, Tom found a part-time job at a convenience store. Now, he's in an unfamiliar role, facing criticism from younger coworkers. Mary's situation changed too. She's no longer a full-time housewife but now works as a cashier at a supermarket, alongside the very part-time housewives she once looked down upon. Her salary is low. Meanwhile, I'm using my experience from behind-the-scenes work to help the company grow. With support from Bob and other employees, the company is thriving. Ironically, my brother's situation has strengthened employee unity. I've pledged to keep working with my mother to expand the business, aiming to bring pride to my Father in heaven. I'm going to my parents' house for a month. What will you do about your chores at home if you're leaving? My son, I'm getting divorced. My mother-in-law gave me divorce papers. This works out well, she said when I left. I filed for divorce, went to my parents' house, and told my dad. After a month, my mother-in-law called me nonstop. Please, I messed up, I'm sorry, help me. My name is Emily. I'm 38 years old and I work in an office. Right now, I live with my husband, Tucker, and my mother-in-law in their house. Even though I should feel happy about being married to Tucker, I really regret it. The reason is that my mother-in-law bullies me all the time and never changes her behavior. Tucker and I met at work. Our companies were partners, so we often worked together. Over time, we became closer and started going out for meals and dates. After about a year of dating, Tucker proposed, and we decided to get married. That was 3 years ago when I was 35. At the start of our marriage, we were really happy. It was just the two of us, and I hadn't realized what my husband was really like yet. We both had good jobs and made good money. On weekends, we treated ourselves to nice trips and delicious meals at fancy restaurants. I thought we'd keep making great memories together. But things changed 2 years into our marriage. It all started when my husband's dad got sick suddenly and passed away. My mom is really sad about losing Dad, my husband said, turning to me for advice. Do you think we should move in with her? Huh. I was a bit confused. Sure, I cared about my mother-in-law, but we had only been married for 2 years. I wanted to live as a couple a bit longer, at least, but it seemed like my husband didn't want to leave his mom alone. I'm her only son, so I feel like I need to take care of her as much as I can, you know? Truth is, I hadn't been very attentive to my own dad before he passed away. Tucker, seeing my husband so sad, I felt the urge to help and support him. But I still regret the decision we made back then. If only I had realized what my husband was really like sooner, maybe things wouldn't have been so tough. Shortly after, my husband and I moved into my in-laws' house. Tucker, it's good of you to be here, my mother-in-law said. Mom, you don't have to worry anymore now that we're here, Tucker replied. Thank you, dear. I'll take care of you both from now on, she said. Of course, we appreciate it, Tucker responded. I couldn't shake the feeling that my mother-in-law's response to me was a bit distant. Feeling uneasy, I walked into the in-laws' house. After quickly putting away our things, my husband and I headed to the living room. I got some treats today since you were coming, my mother-in-law said. These are from my favorite bakery. I love the almond paste they use, my husband exclaimed happily, and I couldn't help but smile at his childlike excitement. But then my mother-in-law gave me a cold look and said, Emily, are you all right? Why do you look so lost? I brought some pastries, so let's hurry and make some coffee. I'm sorry, where are the coffee pots and things? You're so useless, aren't you? Oh, here they are. The shelf for the wife's stuff is here, she said, placing things in a messy way as she spoke. This happened because you never helped out before. Even though my mother-in-law said that, I couldn't agree. Even before, my husband and I often visited her house. But whenever I offered to help, she'd say, no need, just sit down, and wouldn't let me into the kitchen. Maybe she had strong preferences and didn't want anyone else interfering with her space, I thought later. I decided to stop offering to help altogether. Yet she would still get mad at me out of nowhere, which I thought was unfair. In response, my mother-in-law gave me a harsh look. What's with that look? Do you have a problem? She snapped. No, I didn't want to argue directly with her. Instead, I hoped my husband would step in and stop her. I glanced at him sitting at the dining table, but he seemed unconcerned, busy playing with his phone. It made me mad that he didn't care about me, his wife, being unfairly scolded. I never expected to face such unpleasantness right from the start. I started feeling anxious about living with my mother-in-law. And so, living with my mother-in-law began, and right away, problems started arising. It happened early in the morning. "Hey, Emily, why are you still sleeping?" I quickly checked the time on my phone. Well, it's only 5 in the morning, mother." "So what? You should be up making breakfast and Tucker's lunch. And don't forget you're supposed to clean the bathroom every day." My mother-in-law's words shocked me. Firstly, I didn't usually make lunch for my husband, and we often skipped breakfast because we weren't hungry. Plus, I never cleaned the bathroom before going to work because it was tiring. Sure, doing all those things required waking up early, but were they really necessary? As I hesitated, my mother-in-law got mad at me for not moving. "Why are you just standing there? Hurry up. What kind of upbringing did you have to become so useless?" she scolded. Her words angered me, so I decided to do exactly as she said. Every day, I woke up at 5 a.m. and cooked lunch and breakfast for my husband and me. It wasn't just simple meals. I made fancy dishes, and I always cleaned the bathroom thoroughly. Surprisingly, I started feeling better about cleaning the bathroom. It felt good to have a clean bathroom every day. My husband appreciated my hard work and thanked me for the meals and cleaning. But my mother-in-law didn't seem happy. She kept demanding more from me. "Today, I feel like having Japanese food." "No, wait, Italian." "Oh, but it has to be authentic. Make pizza from scratch, cook pasta, and get that red wine from the fancy shop." My mother-in-law would make these demanding requests as if it were a special occasion. And the frustrating part is that my husband always listens to her. "Make sure you do it exactly how my mom wants," he'd say, leaving everything to me. He didn't help at all. And once I took charge, he wouldn't lift a finger. Most of our precious days off were spent preparing the dinners my mother-in-law desired. On top of that, she would complain to me about various things. "You're a wife. Why are you still working? You should be at home supporting your husband. Plus, you're getting older, and the time to have children is running out. Do you realize you're almost worthless?" she'd say. Every day, my mother-in-law bombarded me with hurtful words, causing me to question her character. What kind of upbringing would produce someone like her? And my husband never stood up for me. One day, already stressed from work and dealing with my mother-in-law, my husband said something to me. "My mom says you're neglecting the housework. Is that true? You never listen to me and always act defiantly. I used to appreciate you making lunch every day, but now I hear it's all frozen food. Do you really believe what your mom says?" Of course I believe her. Why wouldn't I? Are you suggesting my mom is lying? You're acting terribly as a wife. Can't you fulfill your role properly? My husband snapped. I was furious at his words. What are you talking about? Just look for yourself. I make homemade lunches, clean, do laundry, and cook dinner every day. I protested. I'm telling you to stop lying. What mom says is true, Tucker. You're acting crazy, you mama's boy. What are you even saying? You never believe me or help me with anything. What exactly do you want me to do? You're such a nuisance, I retorted. It's just as mom says. Tucker's face turned red as he angrily responded. After that big fight, their relationship worsened. Whenever my mother-in-law harassed me, Tucker would join in and insult me too. "Hey, is dinner ready? I just got home." "Hurry up," my husband demanded. "You're so slow and useless," my mother-in-law chimed in. "Well, you're both failures, so it's no surprise," I muttered under my breath. "Never mind, let's just go out to eat together," my husband suggested. "That sounds good. Let's go," my mother-in-law agreed. They left me behind and went out to eat together, completely excluding me from the family. Every day, I endured insults and belittlement from both of them. Did I really need to put up with this marriage? That's when an unexpected opportunity came my way, and I thought, with this, I don't need to stay with my husband and mother-in-law anymore. Amidst all the turmoil, my husband and mother-in-law kept harassing me as usual. "You're absolutely worthless as a daughter-in-law. I can't fathom how my son ended up marrying you," she scolded me while my husband chuckled along. "It's time for a change," I interrupted, standing firm in front of them. "I'm going back to my parents' house for a month." They both stared at me with widened eyes, a mix of surprise and anger evident on their faces. "What? What about the house? What if there's a fire?" My husband panicked. Yeah, you're being incredibly irresponsible. If you're leaving, then divorce my son. My mother-in-law yelled, grabbing something from a drawer. It was the divorce papers. She threw them at me. Go ahead, sign it, she challenged. Oh, Mom, you're prepared for this, my husband remarked, surprised. That's right. You have no choice but to obey us. If you don't like it, then get a divorce. This is a convenient situation, my mother-in-law asserted. Fine, let's get divorced then, I responded firmly. They both widened their eyes in shock at my response, but I ignored their reactions and picked up the divorce papers, starting to fill them out. I'm done with my part, so please leave quickly, I told them. My husband blinked at me in disbelief. Was that earlier just a bluff? That was really lame, he muttered. But when I insisted, he probably glared at me. Don't mess around. I'm serious. Let's get divorced, I said firmly. Tucker forcefully snatched the divorce papers from me and filled in his own section. Is this good enough? He asked, slamming the divorce papers on the table. Even if you want to take it back, it's too late. Oh well, this means it's over for you two in my heart. She laughed loudly. I thought it's over for you guys. As soon as I left my in-laws' house, I promptly submitted the divorce papers. I returned to my parents' house and told my father about everything. He was shocked and promised to take necessary actions to address the situation. Then, 1 month later, my mother-in-law bombarded me with phone calls. Hello? You, what do you want? We're complete strangers now. Please don't say that. Tucker and I are in a difficult situation, I responded. Oh really? That must be tough for you, she replied sarcastically. I haven't said anything yet. I'd rather end this call. Can I hang up? Wait, I have a favor to ask. Can you talk to your father? My mother-in-law pleaded. Why should I, after everything you and Tucker put me through? I retorted. I'm sorry about that. I didn't realize that your father's company is an important business partner of the company Tucker works for, she explained. Actually, my father runs his own company and it's quite successful. He used to have business dealings with Tucker's company too. We probably discussed this before we got married. But at that time, my father-in-law was still alive, and maybe my mother-in-law didn't think she needed to be involved in the conversation. As for Tucker, it's strange that he doesn't remember. But maybe he forgot while siding with my mother-in-law and criticizing me. When my father decided to end the business dealings, Tucker's company offered to continue the contract by letting go of Tucker instead. So Tucker lost his job. And it turns out that Tucker had suggested remodeling our family home when we were planning to live together, and he took out a loan for it. Now that he's unemployed, it's almost impossible to manage loan payments while trying to make a living. Until now, we've been able to manage because I've been contributing my fair share of living expenses as a company employee. But now that I'm divorced, Tucker and my mother-in-law must be in a tough situation. Why did you feel the need to show off by remodeling the house, Tucker? You're so proud, just like your mother. Please help me, my mother-in-law pleaded. I apologize for my mistakes, she continued weakly, lacking the strength to respond to my provocation. I'm sorry, but I can't forgive you for what you've done. If you're expecting me to help you, it's pointless. Instead, focus on finding a job, even if it's temporary. As for me, this conversation is a waste of time, so I'm ending it now. After ending the call and blocking their numbers, I heard that my ex-husband and mother-in-law couldn't keep up with the mortgage payments, so they had to sell the house. It wasn't even that old, and my mother-in-law could have lived there during her retirement. It's a shame they wasted money and let it go. Currently, they're living in an apartment on an island somewhere. My ex-husband works part-time while they rely on my mother-in-law's pension to get by. Meanwhile, I was getting ready to move overseas. Instead of renting a new place, I decided to stay with my parents until I leave. I'll cherish the time with them until then. I'm excited and hopeful about life and work in the new country. Despite the difficulties with my ex-husband and mother-in-law, I'm optimistic about the future. I wonder why they treated me so poorly, but I'm glad to have cut ties with them. Maybe I'll find a wonderful partner overseas and have an international marriage. I genuinely wish them happiness in their future. Thanks for following my story. And if you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel. I look forward to sharing more with you in the future.